Oh, the greatest country in the world.
Four little countries, I and my little girls. Cuba, number one exporter of sugar. All other countries have inferior sugar. Cuba, home of famous cigar. It started by capitalists all around the world. Cuba, Cuba, a very nice place. From hills of Guantanamo to southern Havana. Cuba, friend of all except America. They're very nosy people with gold up their ass. Cuba, industry best in world. We invented coffee and the shaving knife. Cuba, Cuba, you very nice place. From hills of Guantanamo to southern Havana. Congress, mighty penis of our leader. From junction with the testes to tip of his face. Cuba, Cuba, you very nice place. From hills of Guantanamo to southern Havana. Congress, mighty penis of a leader. From junction with the testes to tip of his face. Cuba, Cuba, you very nice place. From hills of Guantanamo to southern Havana. Congress, mighty penis of a leader. From junction with the testes to tip of his face.
What up, everybody? How you guys doing out there? Welcome to the stream. How you guys doing? Good, I hope. I'm just trying to see what the volume. The volume is good on the mic or what? Why is it? It's kind of low. Hello, 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 hello. Okay, I think that's good. Okay, guys, let's start today's stream. Let's start the stream with this stream from the Vanguard boys. They're talking about Ethan Decline.
No, it was an interesting conversation for sure. I'm glad we watched it.
Yeah, you know, it was good to marinate with everybody on that one. Do you want to head on to the next topic, Gavin? Another little bit of a crash out, another little bit of a decline, if you will.
Yeah, let's take a look.
All right, let's see. So, you know, while Ethan was on break celebrating what I've been dubbing Hasanaka, other people, they might, you know, practice other things during the H3 break. I'm not sure, I can't speak for all of them, but I can tell you what Ethan was doing. I can tell you he was down in the lab. He wasn't spending time with his newborn child. He wasn't out hanging out with the fam. He was working so hard on his video about Hassan.
What a sad life. Imagine being fucking a fucking rich ass dude in Hollywood and like trying to get back at your progressive friend who, because you support a genocide. You know what I mean? Like, wow. How low we have come. How low we have come. It's fucking bullshit. Hold on, I need to exit a bunch of fucking apps and shit. They're just eating up internet for no reason. Okay. Let me disconnect and reconnect. This helps.
So there's that. Also, I have been teasing a work on a video I've been working on, or a special project, let's say. I have spent every waking moment on this project.
Okay, is it working now? There we go.
And
except for when you take care of your kids, right?
Oh, god damn, bro. I'm glad some of the crew are like taking some shots back at Ethan because he's a terrible fucking boss.
Waking moment on this project. And
except for when you take care of your kids, right?
Well, I said every available minute. I mean,
okay,
not waking minute. Maybe I misspoke.
H3 staff hates him, dude. They hate Ethan Klein.
Little worried
I'm
for Dave.
glad.
All the free time I had.
I'm glad they're dissing him because I was a little upset at Dan for always taking like Ethan's side and shit, like and like Lovebot and all these fucking assholes in there. Like I was so mad that they're just taking his side. I know he's your boss, but bro, like grow some balls and like you don't gotta be a dick to him, but push back a little bit, you know? Like you're a human being, bro. You have thoughts, ideas, you have suggestions, you have better ideas than him, I bet.
Was spent on this project, and it's coming together, but I've never been faced with such an daunting task. I find myself overwhelmed with the quantity of footage, and the video is already like 40 minutes long. And I'm not even close to done, frankly. I'm not even close to done. So, and then the other thing is, I was thinking of even adding another section. I was like, dude, I'm never going to finish. It's going to be like 3 hours long. So I think what I'm going to do is finish the part I'm on.
Let me finish.
It'll probably be like an hour and a half long. And then if there's an appetite for it, I'll do a part 2.
My first question for you, Gavin, is will there be an appetite for a part 2 once Ethan releases?
First of all, tell the people what he's even talking about here. I
Oh.
don't think he's mentioned it.
Yes, excuse me, guys. I'm sorry. This is the Hassan sweeping takedown video. My mistake. It is
Expose.
the ultimate end-all, be-all career destroyer for the terrorist worshiper, Hassan Piker.
Yep. Also, this is straight up more proof that Ethan is a Destiny fan, a closeted Destiny super fan, because this is a move Destiny has made many times against his enemies. Oh, I'm compiling this giant dossier to take you down. He did it to Keffels, he did it to Vosh, and it's just like this video or this dossier that essentially has all the most embarrassing stuff about a person.
It's a content nuke. That's what it is, basically. It's a content nuke.
Again, it's a clear ripoff of that move that Ethan is doing. But unlike Keffels and unlike Vosh, there's really not much there with Hassan. I have a feeling this expose, this video, is basically just going to be a bunch of edgy jokes out of context. Like, LOL, look at this, Hassan is snickering while someone talks about, freaking October 7th in the background. Can you believe it? Let's all pearl clutch together. Let's all try to get this guy kicked off of Twitch or something stupid like that. So that's kind of the vibe I get. Totally pathetic. Nor will it convince anyone.
100%. And it's also going to be the final nail in the
Whoa,
coffin
bro.
for H3 as the channel. I'm calling
Yeah,
it.
if he posts that stupid ass content nuke on Hassan, that's it. He's gonna lose every single last fan. He's gonna have only Zionist assholes and Destiny fans with him.
If he drops this, it's over. It pisses off his audience that doesn't want to hear him talk about it anymore, that he still has left. It pisses off all of the people who might down the road decide to forgive him. It's so desperate, it's so pathetic, and it's also so hypocritical given the fact that you could make a million videos out of context clips of Ethan Klein making more than edgy.
Or in context.
Or in context.
Or in context.
Like, he
yeah.
literally has said shit about, like, like, he said really uncomfortable things about rape. I don't want to misquote him, but
yeah.
you could Google it. He said all kinds of really racist shit in context, right? That he passes off as edgy now.
Yup.
But at the time, he just said with a straight face. I guarantee you he said the N-word more than Joe Rogan has. I guarantee you.
Yeah. And Zach and I wouldn't just bring that shit up to, like, if we had a disagreement with Ethan over Israel or Palestine or anything else for that matter, right? Like, we wouldn't go there. I think it's pretty ridiculous to be like, hey, I have a disagreement with you about something that's happening right now. Let me start dredging up old fucking jokes and old, like, embarrassing moments from your podcast or something. Like, that's just a beta bullshit move. Debate the fucking issue. If you have a disagreement with Hassan on Israel, then fucking debate him or make a dossier about how actually you're right. Why don't you make a 2-hour-long video about how actually, like, without a doubt,
I think he can't do that because, like, I think these people know Israel's crimes are so blatantly bad that, like, even though they're trying to defend Israel and stay with Israel, like, they just can't really defend it that much. So they just got to attack They're attack dogs.
Arguably, you are correct on this policy position. Guess what? You can't fucking do that because no one would agree with you. No one wants to watch you defend a genocide for 90 minutes. So you have to package it as like, beef and drama and shit. But no one's going to watch that either because way more people fuck with Hassan than your sorry ass at this point.
Oh yeah, he's washed.
A part 2 is good though. That's
Sounds
the thing.
familiar.
Sounds familiar? What's it sound like?
Like a previous video that needed a part 2.
Oh, that one had a lot of parts.
Yeah.
That one had too many parts, if I'm being honest.
No. Shout out to Dan.
But I'm working on it. I was sitting in my desk chair for so long, my neck has been killing me. I got a masseuse recommendation. They're going to come massage my neck as I edit tomorrow during my free time.
Wait, really?
That's right. I had an idea. They're going to... That's right.
Wow.
Nice.
It's frustrating because I really wanted to finish over break, and I feel like I really need to get it out of me. Like, this is something that...
He talks about it like it's his art, like it's some sort of like
It's my
project,
art.
This
I
is
need to
how
get it
Lars
out of
von
me.
Trier discussed this as cinematography and his like screenwriting and stuff. It's art. I had to get it out of me. You know what I mean? But instead, it's just this guy you've become obsessed with who's way more successful than you. Really, what it is it's like the third, portion of the song "Stan," where it's like, "Dear Mister, I'm too good to call or write my fans. This'll be the last package I ever send your ass." And he's crying and he's talking about how I don't deserve it. Like
Yeah,
he's
for real.
losing his mind because Hassan just doesn't want to interact with him anymore, and he it's not a two-way beef. And Destiny had a very similar crash out. You mentioned it when Hassan just said, "No, dude, I'm not beefing with you anymore. Like, I just don't care about you. Like, I dwarf your size. You got yourself banned from Twitch, and now you're irrelevant. Not
Yup.
to us, but like to Hassan's scale, right? Because Destiny did take a huge L when he got banned from Twitch forever, right? I don't know if he's still technically banned, but he only streams on YouTube, and he streams for like 6,000-7,000 people. Hassan will be streaming for like 45,000 people. So at that point, the cake is baked. The competition has
Hassan is the leftist king, bro.
been borne out. That's the exact same thing that's happening to Ethan Klein, and he can no longer milk Hassan for views in the same way because Hassan won. When you go to war with another streamer, one of you wins and one of you loses, right? Gavin and I, we're in the middle of a war with the Young Turks, right? We always say we don't do drive-bys, we park in front of houses and shoot. You know what I'm saying? More Eminem references to come down the line if you hang with us, but that's the methodology here. And one of you wins and one of you loses. So Vanguard, we're winning this war with the Young Turks. Ethan Klein lost his war with Hassan Ali.
Oh yeah, and it's totally pathetic. If you're at the point in a beef or a battle where you're like, "Oh, trust me, I know you guys aren't with me right now, but after you see this 90-minute long dossier, after you watch this multi-hour long video, trust me, then you're gonna be with me. Then you're gonna understand." Nah, you already lost. Say goodbye. Move the fuck on while you still can, because honestly, the longer you the longer you drag this out, the worse it's gonna get for you, bro. And the worst thing about this is like it's not even entertaining content. It's not even funny content.
Nope.
Say what you will about Ethan's.
It's just sad. It's sad to see Ethan Klein like this, man. I grew up watching this fucking loser.
Beef with Vosh from earlier in 2024. We talked about it a lot.
Yeah, that was
and,
crazy.
You can have whatever opinion on that you want. Maybe you think he was unfair to Vosh. Maybe you think he was right on. One thing you can't deny about that is that it was entertaining fucking content. That was glorious. Again, even if you think he was unfair to Vosh, it was genuinely entertaining, just as like a roast. Like you could almost just watch those streams as like roast comedy, and it worked because there was so much weird shit, so many funny clips of Vosh saying genuinely crazy things that were like straight up objectionable and problematic. And they're not kids, they're short stack goblins. There was real material to work with there.
Yeah.
This Hassan thing, it's not funny. It's not like it's just no one wants to sit there and watch you accuse your old friend of anti-Semitism and stuff like. It's just not. It's not a vibe. It's not funny at all. It's not entertaining. It just comes off as weird and like overly personal and bitter.
100%. And the thing about Vosh is, this is how you know Ethan's really on the decline. This is how you know that H3 is just not capable of going to battle with Hassan. H3 and Ethan Klein were like the leaders, and Hassan kind of contributed to the crusade against Vosh, which I personally, I don't really fuck with CP and people who want to make excuses for it. So I thought that was a huge L for Vosh.
You mean lolly
Yeah, that's gross, lolly.
content?
Lolly content.
Let's be accurate.
Sure, sorry, drawings of CP, animations of CP, not the actual,
Come on,
not
there's
the
a
actual criminal. Sure, excuse me, those are hairs I'm really interested in splitting. They really changed my mind. That's the position I had. But as an objective person who analyzed this media, Vosh made it through. He was like, I'm going to continue to make the best content that I can make. I'm going to stream every single fucking day, and I'm going to ride my way through it. And he just
This is how you know cancel culture is fucking bullshit and cancel culture does not work.
also hit 500,000 subscribers, and he goes live for like 7,000 fuckers every day, and he's just about as big as Destiny on YouTube. Now, Ethan would, I believe, sacrifice a nut to be in the position that Vosh is in now, which is just such a regression from where H3 was when they were at their peak. And you have to know that that's weighing on Ethan.
Yeah. I mean, we took a look at their social blade, and the H3 views are down, subscribers are down. I imagine that a decent amount of normie people still tune into their live stream, like their actual show. But I imagine that's waning as well.
Yep.
I also talked about or theorized that the Teddy Fresh sales are probably down. That's Ethan's clothing company, which probably was bringing in the bacon for a while. I'm sure it still makes a decent amount of revenue, but I would imagine that, the sales for that are down too, because a lot of his audience has been punishing Ethan over his stance on Israel and Palestine. Again, he did this whole, like, I'm a progressive, I'm a lefty arc right before deciding to side against the Palestinians during this genocide. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. It's like, what do you think was going to happen, bro? The fuck are you, like, these people that you just courted into your audience?
Yeah,
They're not pro genocide.
He's a dipshit.
Sorry.
Yeah, 100%. And we can keep watching the meltdown.
Ethan Klein's a dumbass, bro. I can't believe you're gonna court a fucking leftist audience right before genocide starts happening, and then you're gonna be like, "Oh, what's wrong with Israel, guys?"
I feel I really need to say. So it's frustrating, but I'm working on it, And so far so good, I'll say. So far so good. Thanks.
Exciting stuff.
Thank you. So everybody, hope you guys enjoy that when it comes out eventually. I think within 2 weeks for sure. Within 2 weeks.
Okay.
Thank you
Wait
so
till
much.
you guys see
Anna.
the.
And what are we running here
Supposed to
today?
be
What's
on
our
track.
temperature?
Right, yeah, Gavin's going to come for me.
I've been gathering receipts for Zach's entire life almost since 5th grade.
Yeah, it wouldn't take that much effort. He would just be fucking ready to go. Be like, sorry, I'm doing the Vanguard alone now, Zach. Zach's going to host the Casa del Vanguard from Stillwell. He's spending some time getting to know the rural Americans that elected Donald Trump. He'll be back someday. He's moving to a farm so he can play with the other dogs. Anyway, there happens to be massive fires over in Southern California, right where H3 records, and I just thought this perfectly encapsulates the mental health situation that's over in this house.
Literally.
Outside our window. It's close, but we're safe for now, and wind is blowing away from us. Hassan, for sure, hoping the fire takes out my computer. Sir, you have a
Bro, there's a fire and your kids and dogs are in the house with your wife, and you're worried about Hassan and the computer? You are... I don't know, what do you call that? Like, mentally ill, yeah.
that is about to experience a natural disaster, and you are thinking about trolling Hassan Piker right now. It reminds me of when David Sirota was like, if only my fucking movie had been better reviewed and had won the Oscar, I would have finally fucking it would have been crazy.
Yeah. This is karma for Ethan making fun of Aaron Bushnell.
Uh-huh.
He's gonna get the
For real, now you're gonna get fucking
Bushnell
ablaze.
treatment himself, if you know what I'm saying.
Ooh, edgy humor.
No, but for real, this is crazy. And it's funny, this one almost seems like halfway self-aware or something. Like it's almost like he's making a joke about how pathetic he is. Like, yeah, there's a literal fire about to kill my family, and I'm still talking about Hassan. What? Bro, this isn't a good look, dude. No one even thinks it's funny. Even people that are with you don't think it's funny. It's just humiliating. And Hassan definitely doesn't give a fuck, by the way, about any of this. At most, he feels bad for you, right? But he doesn't give a fuck about your video. He doesn't give a shit if the fire takes out your computer and you never get to release your expose. He probably doesn't even know you're compiling this bullshit.
No, absolutely not. And Gavin, one last thing on H3, because, you know, the whole show isn't about Hassan, right? The whole show isn't about his beef with other streamers, right? Sometimes you get really high quality content like this. You know, Ethan was and still is a valued member of the political discourse community, Gavin. Let's hear what kind of insights this man holds when given the floor to speak on, you know, critical issues that Donald Trump, like taking back Panama Canal.
Ooh.
People didn't like Jimmy Carter though because I mean at the time because he gave our work to get the Panama Canal back to the people of Panama.
The Panamese.
Like he's basically sacrificed his political career to do so.
And what do we get from that exactly?
Well, I mean, he's doing something that's helping people, but
No. What did we get from it?
From giving back the Panama Canal.
Yeah, what did we get out of
peace
it?
of mind that we gave the
Shut up.
people that live there.
That's why he's
control
fucking
over-
dead and nobody cares.
Because he gave away the Panama Canal.
Yeah,
Wow, bro, that's not even funny.
dude. Imagine all the fucking income, all
Well,
the
Trump is-
revenue.
Trump is trying to reverse that.
Well, it's a little
is my
late for that
understanding.
Ethan Klein is turning Trumpian, bro.
now. Now we can't just go take it back like give backs. Like,
Yeah, it's not a great look.
You know, he's really trying not to cross the line where he's like, I don't know, Israel does it. Just go down there and start killing all the women and children. It'll be fine. That's, you know, that's what my wife does.
Yeah, for real. This is a weird. Like, I get that he's kind of joking or something,
But it's not funny.
but also, yeah, it's like, okay.
It's a weird joke.
Because it,
I don't think that's a possibility that he can go take the canal back.
well, anything is possible with God.
You'd have to like do a military takeover, which would be insane. There had to be more to it than that. Just altruism. He gave it back out of respect for Panamanian pandemonium.
So I have actually read about this, right? Because I did do some reading about Jimmy Carter after he died, and I embarrassed myself when I referred to Iran as Pakistan on one of our live
Wow.
streams. It was really a bummer. But I did read a lot about Jimmy Carter after that.
Only get your Middle East history from me, guys.
Exactly. Gavin's the archaeologist and historian. But what happened was it was actually Gerald Ford who was interested in negotiating a new treaty with the United States and Panama.
I always forget that Gerald Ford was even a president.
Yeah, and initially Jimmy Carter opposed it. But do you know who else opposed it? Ronald Reagan. And Jimmy Carter was able to be reasoned with once
He
he
was
won
like,
re-election.
"Oops."
And what a lot of people don't know is when we made that deal, we made the deal with Colombia because Colombia, like Panama was a part of Colombia at that time, and they sought independence, and we had to ratify a new agreement with the people of Panama because they had won their, you know, freedom from the Colombians. And it was actually a big based humanitarian move from Jimmy Carter. Now, was it what cost him the election? No, it was the Iran hostage situation.
Yeah,
That
that's
was-
not
Yeah.
what cost him the
Yeah.
fucking election. That's ridiculous.
Sovereignty.
Mm-hmm.
Improving U.S. Latin American relations, strategic long-term stability, negotiated treaty.
I don't think anybody said that Carter was reelected. Did I say that he was reelected? He was one-term president. Everybody knows that. I said it kept him from reelection. That's
I think
said
you
he
said
didn't keep it.
elect. Maybe you said reelected when you meant to say elected.
Well, I thought I
in the
said I
first
thought I said
place.
it kept him from getting reelected.
Oh,
That's
who
what
knows?
I meant.
was
Either
just
way.
maybe. Who knows? I don't know.
Treaty terms outline the gradual transfer of the canal. Yada yada yada. Moral, ethical, boring, snooze. Wow, he did it for all the wrong reasons. Can you imagine a president?
Either way, this isn't like a super worthwhile clip, but I was like, this is what started getting
Wow.
suggested to me as like positive content. No, not positive content, but just like this is non-Hassan
Wow.
content from H3. This is
It's funny how non-Hassan content from H3 is also like genocidal, warmongering, colonial, imperialist ass content. But anyways, pro warmongering, all the other stuff I said. Just him though, like the crew seems nice. The crew is alright. Sometimes they defend him too much. But you know, they all need their jobs. I get it. I get it. Alright. Let's move on to Francesca Fiorentini. Hey.
it's me, Francesca Fiorentini. Welcome to the Bitchuation Room podcast live stream thing.
Buenos días, el presidente. Or la presidenta. La presidente? La presidente.
Thank you so much for being here. This is our weird in-between show. All of the Tuesdays keep lining up on holidays. I hope everyone had a good Christmas if you celebrate, or a good first day of Hanukkah if you celebrate. We're not going to have a show, obviously, on New Year's Day, so all things are all crazy, but we will be back the second week of January, so do not worry. But I wanted to actually just use this moment, because I got him, to talk to a one Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks, who I have worked with for many years now, and talk to him about his approach to a second Trump administration, what he has been doing in the media landscape. Really briefly, we're trying to keep this tight. We're trying to keep it good and open, but just so you all know, if you're like, who, what, where, how, what are you? So I've worked as a contributor with TYT since 2016. I've gone on anywhere between 1 and 3 times a week. I feel like at the height of when I was going on was like 2021. I in part moved to LA because of TYT, but you know, I was really happy to do more and more work with them. And I've loved going on their shows. And that's why I'm very concerned, because as of late, there's been a different tack, especially from the main host and founder and head of TYT, Cenk. If you don't know Cenk, he founded TYT back in 2002. 2005, it was the first YouTube channel partner. Basically was and is YouTube. It's been such a backbone of progressive media for so many people. I think it's it truly, in the Bernie years, really pulled people to the left and got folks to think differently and systemically about our political system. Cenk also was a congressional candidate in 2020. He ran for president in 2024 as a protest candidate against Joe Biden. And lately,
and to sell a book. That not just a protest. He also did that shit to sell a book. And then once he was done, like, losing, because he knows, you know, you can't even be a fucking president if you're born in Turkey or born in Cuba or whatever. But then he also, like, met up with RFK and took a hike with RFK, a nice little walk, and now he's friends with RFK, I guess.
Since Donald Trump has been reelected president, Cenk Uygur has been going on a number of shows, but particularly right-wing leaning shows. Patrick Bet-David, Tim Pool. His latest appearance was at the Turning Points conference with, of course, Charlie Kirk. And he has thoughts on why he's doing that, and I have thoughts on what he is doing. And so I wanted to hear them out and also express my feelings. But so here he is, Cenk Uygur, for as much as we can squeeze in.
Of course! Now, guys, just remember, keep this shit in mind. Just remember, this is the rule of Cenk in these debates. Anytime there's a right winger, it could be Charlie Kirk, it could be Tim Pool, it could be I don't know, name him. It could be Donald Trump, it could be the butcher of Blaviken, it could be you know what I mean? It could be anybody. This is how he treats them when they're a right winger. And this is how he's going to treat Francesca Fiorentini. He's going to go ham, bro. It's crazy. Get ready.
This blessed hour. Welcome for the first time to the Bitchuation Room.
Yeah. Thanks
Oh,
for
and by the
having me
way, if you guys like my content, remember to subscribe.
I want to have fun, classic Rick and Morty adventures like in the old days. Then we'll get along fine, Fascist Morty. For starters, I just need to get to Forbodulon Prime. You will go where I want you to go!
We will not get along fine, Fascist Morty. I don't like Fascist Mortys. But if you want to become a anti-fascist Morty, or an anti-fascist Rick, or a anti-fascist subscriber, subscribe to my channel. Let's continue.
Franny, appreciate it. and thanks for the intro.
Yeah, man. I gotta say, it's not an understatement to say that I've lost sleep over what's been going on. That I've been really upset, angry, and like wounded, if that makes sense to you. I have also refrained from tweeting at you, Cenk. I've refrained from doing videos about you without your presence. I've refrained from misrepresenting you. But man, on the inside, it's been rough. So I do want to ask you, I feel like we are in the precipice of a really perilous time of true authoritarianism coming to the United States. And someone like you, who has been such a leader on the progressive left, has such a massive role to play in this moment as a stalwart of resistance, as so many of these centrists are kowtowing to the right.
And now he's another centrist that's kowtowing to the right. I was talking to my wife about this. Like, centrism is not good. You do not want to be a centrist. The Democrats lost this time because they were too much of a centrist. They're not against capital enough. They're not against capitalism enough. They don't want to tax the rich. They don't want to do actual things that help the poor and the working class. That's what they got mopped up. They lost to Trump. A fake populist ass motherfucker. A dude that shits in a golden toilet. He has a golden toilet.
And then I see you on the same stages with, and in the same rooms with, the right-wingers who are mouthpieces of said authoritarianism. And I don't believe that you are actually pushing back instead. And I think there's a project here. You're trying to find points of agreement. So what are you doing, and why are you doing what you're doing?
Yeah. So I appreciate that, that you're having me on as opposed to talking about me and raging, et cetera, without actually getting into the full conversation. So, look, first let me acknowledge.
He does that to the left. He says, the left are crazy. The left are saying birthing persons online. The left are doing this, that, trans people in sports. People don't like that. The people in America aren't there yet. But I run the progressive media. I run the home of progressives on TYT. Home of progressives. Get out of here, bro.
That I get why people are concerned. So you've seen this pattern a number of times. So people think, oh, this is the beginning of the pattern. We know how that ends, right? So you see Dave Rubin go talk to Tucker Carlson once. You say, well, okay, he's defending our side or finding a point of agreement, whatever, right? But then next thing you know, he agrees with Tucker again and again and again and again. And then all of a sudden he's talking about how bad the left is and how, my favorite example about how the forest fires in California started because the fire departments allowed gay people to join.
Right. Wild.
Yeah. And Franny, we've seen this movie many times, and me especially as a Muslim, because Israel always finds collaborators and to come out and go, oh, look at this Muslim guy. He says Muslims are violent, and it is in their book, and it's all their fault, right? And one of those mouthpieces. So I understand, guys, that pattern exists, and so why people would be concerned the minute it seems like you're taking the first step there. But it is possible to not do that pattern, and we are not doing that pattern, and there's massive differences there, right? So they let go of all their positions. We've let go of.
So why did you take Polymarket gambling money, dude? Why did you take money from Jeffrey Katzenberg? And now you're against homelessness in LA. You're like always shit on homelessness. You're always shitting on you're always bringing up these fake stories about violent gangs taking over apartment complexes, bro. Violent gang, bro. Like, dude, get out of here. There ain't no violent gang. That was all a fake story started by the fucking the apartment complex owner because he didn't want to fix the apartments. He didn't want to put the money down to fix the apartment, so he was making up stories about, bro, there's gangs, bro. There's gangs, bro. Gangs of immigrants, bro. Like, get out of here, dude. That's so fake.
Out of our positions. And people think this is after the election, but apparently, as you know, I've been battling what I call the far left for years now. So I think that's a perfectly fine area of disagreement to have within a movement. I know that
anytime Cenk Uygur sees the far left, is what he says. Oh, can I not play these? Yeah, here we go. I don't know why I can't play these. It's about time. Yeah, I don't know how to use my stream deck. It's not working.
Some people think, no, we're not allowed to disagree, and any disagreement is heresy, right? And that's a core thing that we'll probably discuss here today, right? As one of the issues. And so now, in terms of, so why am I doing it, or how did it come about? So how it came about is when I was doing that protest run against Biden, I went on all the shows I possibly could, left wing, right wing, etc. And on the right wing shows, I was expecting what I always get from right wing, which is the Republicans are right and you guys are all evil and no points of agreement, just a bunch of robots, right? And what I started to see was they're not as robotic as we thought they were, right? And so there was like these flashes of like, wait, they actually genuinely hate Mitch McConnell. That's interesting. I know why.
Mitch McConnell's not in power anymore, and also if they disagree with Trump, it doesn't matter. Like, their limit is Trump. They can't disagree with Trump. If you disagree with Trump, Yank, they're gonna kick you out of their party. They're not gonna work with you.
Because Trump said he was bad, right? But at the same time, there's a second reason, and I know that a lot of people on the left don't believe it, but I'm here to tell you that I've seen it with my own eyes. There are actual populists in those right-wing hills, and they
Stop saying that. I hate that word. Right-wing hills, populist in the hills. Oh my God, don't say that sentence ever again. I want to burn those hills, dude. I want to burn the thought that you just put in my mind that there's populists in the hills.
They don't like the establishment. They hate the establishment.
Right-wing populism is not the same thing as left-wing populism. Both populist parties might hate the establishment, but once you get into power, you are the establishment. So if we overthrow or unelect or like elect progressive or populist people, once you're in there, you are the establishment. The establishment just means whoever's in power now and the way it's running. But once you win, you are the establishment. So what are you going to do then? What are you going to do then after that?
Now, they don't have the same opinions with us on social issues, cultural issues, etc. And then they genuinely hate war. Now, if Trump declares war on Panama and they all go along, then I was wrong. Okay? So we'll get to that too. And so more and more. And Charlie Kirk came on in the RNC, and this is the one that really threw me for a loop, and I couldn't believe it. He started talking about how bad BlackRock was and how private equity is buying up all the homes in America. And I'm like, that's what we think. That's what we say, right? And I couldn't believe that Charlie Kirk, of all people, was coming in our direction on that issue. And so...
Bro, he does. He's not coming in your direction on that issue. He's just saying that, but he's not going to do anything about it. Or the politicians on the right wing aren't going to do nothing about it. They love BlackRock.
I think their funding might have changed, to be honest. And so the right is not the monolith that we thought they are. And right now, since they've gotten past their robotic establishment, they're in a state of kind of chaos, a chaos that's not so bad in my opinion. And you're seeing it today, like MAGA attacking Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy. If they were a monolith and they were robots and they were a cult, that would never happen. Now, I happen to agree with Elon and Vivek on that issue.
I was going to ask you, actually.
Yeah, but first of all, hey, there I am agreeing with Elon and Vivek. Why? Because they agree with us.
So this is about HB1.
So Cenk Uygur wants lower paid visa workers to come here and billionaires to fire regular American workers. Okay, good.
Visas and allowing
good that we know
high-skilled professional immigrant workers who work in tech to be allowed in. The MAGA base says that that's obviously immigration and they want to cut down on that. But Elon and Vivek, again, two millionaire and the richest man on earth, want that. Does that not fly in the face of some of what you've been saying about the base and how the base is actually great and the base is great at popular?
Look at this dumb Tucker Carlson face this guy's doing. He's making like a Tucker Carlson, like a interesting. You know, like I'm listening. Oh yeah, interesting.
Ideas. One of those populist ideas, Cenk, is mass
Mass deportation, yeah, girl.
deportations is stopping any migration, is getting people out of this country.
Yeah. So, Franny, it's a great question. And so that's why what's happening today is actually so interesting. Because, number one, are we allowed to agree with anyone on the other side? Elon said terrible things. He backed that crazy radical right-wing party in Germany, etc., right? But that doesn't mean he's wrong about these visas. We've had that position on visas our whole lives, right? We agree with, or he has now come to agree with us. Same with Vivek. Now, but what's interesting is, so now MAGA, the populist base of MAGA, rebels against Elon and Vivek. So, number one, that shows
They're not populists. That's like the racist side. That's like the racist, fascist piece of shit side of MAGA. What are you talking about? What's populist about that?
that that my thesis that they will rebel against their leaders is true. Okay. Now, do I agree with them on this rebellion? I don't. But remember, just because they're populist doesn't mean they agree with us on everything. On social and cultural issues, we have massive disagreements. Massive. I'm looking for the agreements on the economically populist stuff. So on this one, they're anti-immigration. And so again, it's not a monolith. It's a little bit more complicated. But overall, the massive MAGA is anti-immigration. And I obviously don't agree with them on that. I'm an immigrant. And I'm first generation. I wasn't even born here, right? So all this talk of deportations, and now this crazy thing that one of them came out with, denaturalizing people, that's just nuts, right? So and I say that to their face in all the shows that I go on. I go, look, I don't agree with this. I don't agree with that. I think you're nuts on this, right? But now we do agree on some things: anti-war, anti-corruption, etc. Even if I know, guys, I know Trump is massively corrupt, and they've been misdirected. But within that chaos of the right wing, interesting different coalitions can break out, as you're seeing today with these different coalitions within MAGA. Yeah. So imagine if we had, this is really wild, right? But you've got to take a first step to be able to get to this ultimate conclusion. Imagine if we had voting blocks that weren't strictly Republican or Democrat or strictly MAGA or not, and we could then join the voting block, in this case with Vivek and Elon, and protect these visas, right? Or in another case, we could join the populist right-wing bloc and prevent a war. Again, those are like huge.
Oh no, what the fuck?
And it is in their book, and it's all their fault, right? And one of those mouthpieces. So what's happening today is actually so interesting. Because, number one, are we allowed to agree with anyone on the other side? Elon said terrible things. He backed that crazy radical right-wing party in Germany, etc., right? But that doesn't mean he's wrong about these visas. We've had that position on visas our whole lives, right? We agree with, or he has now come to agree with us. Same with Vivek. Now, but it would seem—
Stop it. He is wrong about these visas. He only wants these visas so he can get cheaper workers, so he can fire regular American workers. He's not doing it for the sake of immigration. He doesn't give a shit about immigrants.
Interesting. So now MAGA, the populist base of MAGA, rebels against Elon and Vivek. So number one, that shows that that my thesis that they will rebel against their leaders is true. Okay. Now, do I agree with them on this rebellion? I don't. But
yeah, remember, until fucking Donald Trump agrees with Elon, and then they all shut the fuck up and don't ever mention the disagreement ever again. Because they're a cult. But Cenk doesn't mention that.
Just because they're populist doesn't mean they agree with us on everything. On social and cultural issues, we have massive disagreements. Massive. I'm looking for the agreements on the economically populist stuff. So on this one, they're anti-immigration. And so again, it's not a monolith. It's a little bit more complicated. But overall, the massive MAGA is anti-immigration. And I obviously don't agree with them on that. I'm an immigrant. And I'm first generation. I wasn't even born here, right? So all this talk of deportations, and now this crazy thing that one of them came out with, denaturalizing people, that's just nuts, right? So and I say that to their face in all the shows that I go on. I go, look, I don't agree with this. I don't agree with that. I think you're nuts on this.
Look at Francesca. She wants to talk so badly, but he doesn't shut up. Cenk doesn't shut up and let her talk.
Right? But now we do agree on some things: anti-war, anti-corruption, etc. Even if I know, guys, I know Trump is massively corrupt, and they've been misdirected. But within that chaos of the right wing, interesting different coalitions can break out, as you're seeing today with these different coalitions within MAGA. So imagine if we had, look, this is really wild, right? But you've got to take a first step to be able to get to this ultimate conclusion. Imagine if we had voting blocks that weren't strictly Republican or Democrat or strictly MAGA or not, and we could then join the voting block, in this case with Vivek and Ilan, and protect these visas, right? Or in another case, we could join the populist right-wing bloc and prevent a war. Again, those are like huge dreams.
I mean, I think it's sort of
the right wing is pro-war, and if Trump wants the war, they're not gonna fight Trump. His MAGA followers, you dipshit.
A deal with the devil either way. I do want to just step back. I want to step back from the news a little bit and truly understand what you believe you are doing and who you believe you represent. Just really briefly, who you believe you represent when you go on these shows. You say we a lot, and I'm not sure who you are referring to when you say we. Is it yourself? Is it you? And is it Anna and you and Anna? Is it all of TYT? Is it the broader left? Who do you think you represent when you go on these shows to make the case about how there's commonality?
Yeah. So, great question again. So, first off, for folks who don't know, Young Turks is the flagship show of the TYT network. So, the TYT network is the whole left. So, Franny's on the TYT network. This show's on the TYT network, and at least on the podcasting side. And so, Franny is to the left of me on many issues. So is Jordan Ewell, so many other people, right? And so I never block anyone from stating their opinions, and I like that we have the whole range, right? And in the past, we've had David Pakman as part of the the YouTube network broadly.
But who's the we, Jank? Who's the we? You've said these things before, and I have thoughts on them. But who's the we?
So that's TYT. TYT is that whole spectrum of left-wing thought. And as you know, Franny, we debate on the show all the time.
We don't. We really, I just want to be fair. We don't. Because if we did, we would have had this conversation many, many times, but we don't. Number one, I am not the main host. Anna Kasparian is. Number two, I am rarely the fill-in host. Jordan Ewell has been filling in quite frequently. Number three, when I do fill in as a host or as a guest, it depending on the story is when we can actually sometimes maybe squeeze in 1 or 3 minutes of debate, but we have to keep it moving. That is the job. The job is to do the news. It's to get to all the different things. So I just want to say that it's very unfair to say that these debates have happened on the main show. Certainly not with me, maybe once around trans issues, but I want to leave that aside. Who is we? Who are you saying when you say we?
Okay, but let me address that real quick. But yes, but I've gotten into so first of all, we do the news, so we debate within that news story. Is it a shorter period of time? Yes. Sometimes I'll do longer ones. I did a longer one with Jordan Ewell and Jules Sulzdayam, et cetera, and here we are within the network, et cetera. So now that's TYT is the left in general. Young Turks is the flagship show. That's me and Anna, and so I would say that we, as in me and Anna, are maximum populist, but not maximum left, right? So I am maximum left on some issues, but not all issues. And so those are two different political spectrums. There's a left-right spectrum and the establishment populist spectrum. I mean, I now see Emma Vigeland defending the establishment, which is mind-blowing.
Ari, I want to leave that aside, but I just want to, because I really want to talk about what you are doing and what you believe you are doing. And I want to just explain, by showing, and I want to ask you what you think the goal is of what you are doing. But here was a moment where you were on TPUSA's on Turning Point USA's conference, and Charlie Kirk, who is a Christian nationalist, he's an avowed Christian nationalist. TPUSA has had wildly racist and white supremacists associated with them, including inviting people like Nick Fuentes to speak. No matter what you think of his thoughts on BlackRock, here is him asking you about left media. And I gotta say, Jank, this one sucked real hard for me.
Yeah, Jank Uygur was like, oh, well, the right wing, if you agree with them 5%, they're like, come on board. And the left hates you.
And you also, I think, have been using these opportunities to talk a lot about the left to the right.
think the left has some work to do in developing over-the-top media to be able to bypass the main networks.
Yeah, so we have TYT as a giant network, but we have a lot of great progressive and populist shows that are not part of TYT. That's in the left-wing ecosystem.
Think about this. Cenk is not mentioning the fact that the right wing gets millions and millions and billions of dollars from asshole billionaires around the world like Elon Musk. So look, Charlie Kirk.
I just want to stop and say I'm excited to hear which ones you like, given that you just sort of insulted Emma Vigeland just now. I'm curious which ones you actually do still support that aren't your own, but I'm going to keep going, Cenk. Hang on.
So I don't think that that's the issue. I don't think that there isn't enough shows. I think that there's a couple others. One, on the right, you guys do a great job of coalescing. Okay, so you do a couple of things well. You work together well, and you're more welcoming, if I'm being honest.
We're glad Cenk's here, right, everybody?
And a lot of people on the left know this as well. If you agree with MAGA 5%, the answer you get is welcome, right? Come join us, right? On the left, if you disagree 5%, they go, get out of here, you're a right-winger, you're a fascist, right? But if you push enough people out and you guys welcome enough people in, eventually you win the popular vote. That's what I warned them about, and that's what happened, right?
Okay, so there you are, and you know.
Yeah, love it. Stick with 100% on what I just said there. I'm 100% right about that. So let's discuss.
He's 100% wrong.
Yeah, let's discuss. You had your say there, and you've been saying various degrees of that same thing. And I gotta say, like, I watched this whole, I watched the whole clip, and it started off, and I was like, this is pretty good. This is good. Like, pretty good interview. You know, I like that you're sitting down. It wasn't bad.
She's fluffing him up.
This moment, like, truly a part of me died when I watched this.
Wow, I can't believe that.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
go
Oh,
ahead.
super. Just like shriveled up and died, floated away into the ocean. Here's what happens. Couple things. He asks you about left-wing media and why there isn't more left-wing media. Which already, as you were there, you know, in the sort of kingdom of turning points, is like, that's such a dig. Like, why are you guys so weak is effectively what he's saying. And instead of pointing out the way that TPUSA has been bankrolled by Republican mega donors out of Chicago and many
That's what I'm saying. He doesn't bring any of this stuff up when he needs to the most.
Other places for years now, and talking about how the Daily Wire was funded by the Fracking brothers, the Wilkes brothers. Now they're fishing for new, you know, investors, whatnot, but that there is so much money on the right. He handed this answer to you on a fucking platter, and all you said was, you know what? You guys are really good at being welcoming. People just like you. Cenk, they've got all the money.
I didn't say people just
what are
like
you
me. That's very
talking about?
This motherfucker is literally this meme, bro. He is literally this meme. Whenever he talks to right-wingers, hi, how are ya? Watch him start getting mad at Francesca.
That's effectively what you're good at coalescing. And here's my question to you about so that's just number one on the media, because that just stings because I'm in media. But on the 5%, if you disagree with MAGA 5%, they still welcome you. How did that work out for Liz Cheney?
Yeah.
She's gone.
So look, is there a part of MAGA that'll push you out? Of course. That's what we know MAGA for.
When do they push you out, Cenk? When do they push you out?
Largely when you disagree with Trump.
Yes. Yes.
Exactly.
So listen,
this is the thing that it's the unspoken thing that you're never saying, that ultimately it's all hunky-dory. Elon can tweet back at you. Vivek can listen to you. But if you defy Donald Trump, the God Emperor, you're kicked out of the castle. And no one's defending Liz Cheney. Screw both their castle and the other castle. But Liz Cheney voted with Donald Trump 98% of the time. And just the 1% when she was like, hey, you know what? You can't do a coup on this country. And Adam Kissinger, and they were gone. So miss me with this 5% BS,
Bullshit.
yo.
So, all right, Franny, a whole bunch of things here. So number one, you're right. That's definitely how Turning Point started. Daily Wire certainly started that way. I don't know what their current funding is, but they seem to have a lot more funding than any of us
It's still
do.
right wing.
So you're right, and I have said that in the past, and I probably should have put that in there in that particular appearance, and I will mention that, and that'll really grate on their nerves. But I've got no problems telling their audience, and I tell them all the time, no, you guys
He does not tell them all the time. He keeps lying.
have way more money, and they're always shocked by that. And I'm like, because they're swimming in money and don't realize how much we're starving out here on the left, right?
Sure.
So and I talked on Tim Pool's show about that, etc. Now, when it comes to the 5%, 95%, yeah, I hear you. So it's when you disagree with Trump, especially in the past, especially in the first term, etc., you're a goner, right? But they are pushing back even on Trump now. So, again, on things that we don't agree with, but on COVID, for example, they thought that Trump did too much COVID protections, et cetera. And there was, and this is really encouraging. When I talk about Team Miriam, Marco Rubio, Elise Stefanik, Mike Huckabee, and Mike Walz, so those are the four that put in by the neocons put in by Miriam Adelson. In the old days, what I would have gotten, Franny, is, no way, they're the greatest. They're not neocons. You're a liar. Trump picked them. Trump's the best. Now what I'm getting from the right-wing host, which is amazing, and let alone the base, they're all saying, yeah, I hear you. We got concerns about them. We got concerns, okay? So that's the thing I never heard before. So that is a change. Now, in terms of the concept that I'm referring to, the 5%, 95%, but Franny, we're in the middle of that right now. This is the perfect example. So I started the largest progressive network. I've given, dozens of progressives opportunities they didn't have before. I started Just Democrats, et cetera, et cetera. The minute I disagree, like 5% on trans issues or crime, everybody's like, right wing, fascist, right wing. Almost every show is saying that. Almost every show. So you telling me that you don't push people out? You're pushing out the movement overall, at least the online left movement, seems to be trying to push out the one network that has helped progressives more than any other network, and it's not in dispute. But my God, we have 5% disagreement. So tear it down, tear it down. This is the destructive extreme left that honestly, that portion, that kind of destructive attitude is poison. It's not just poison to us, it's poison to our chances of winning. Because we keep pushing people out, we keep pushing people out, and then all of a sudden we lost all the swing states and we lost the popular vote. I'm trying to get our side to wake up, snap out of our hypnosis of we hate, and we hate the right wing, and they're all white supremacists, and they're all racist, and they're all sexist.
That's what they do to us, dude. That's what they do, not us. That's not what we do to them. We know a lot of right-wingers are just regular people. We hate the politicians. The politicians all fucking suck. They're all corrupt. But the people, a lot of them are misled, and some of them are Nazis and weirdo fascists and incels. But, like, we don't just hate on all of them. This is some, like, delusion. Here's the jank. Here's the jank versus Francesca coming out right now. Literally.
We hate, and we never go in the room with them. We hate. What the hell happened to us? And no one's allowed to disagree. We're now authoritarian. No.
Wait, Cenk, can I just clarify?
I will never allow the left to be authoritarian and this idea of just hating the other side.
But he likes the right wing, who is really authoritarian, literally authoritarian. Okay, you can work with the right wing, who's literally authoritarian, but you can't work with the left.
Is poison.
You know what's so funny about you calling the left authoritarian?
The left has no power.
You think the left has power. Like, I love that you think
total nonsense.
we are on the precipice of real authoritarianism and real fascism
From Trump and billionaires like Elon.
And you believe that the online left are the authoritarians? I mean, I don't know how to tell you. You sound like Bill Maher and Nancy Pelosi had a kid, and it came out, Cenk Uygur. And let me just ask you, though. Let me just ask you. So what shows on the left do you like that aren't on the TYT network?
Yeah, so I said, look, there's a lot of good popular shows on the left that I like, and it's because there are. So Breaking Point's a good show. Kyle Kalinski's Secular Talk is a good show. He was against me going on MAGA. I haven't seen his video, but Kyle's been against us a couple of times. But I largely didn't hold a grudge on that.
But even wait, let me just stop you. Let me just stop you. First of all, you had a great conversation with Crystal Ball. I think she made some really good points to you on. I think it was on Breaking Points. Kyle has I think been very disturbed, especially by your appearance with Charlie Kirk. But what you just said there, they've been against us. I really want to just dig into this idea that, because you're a fighter, man. That's cool. That's great. But like, you really do have a very I almost want to call it Bush-like, Cheney-like, you're with us or against us attitude.
100% wrong.
Like you just literally, I love that you're proving my point. But
No,
when
I'm
I
not. You're
say
proving
this,
my
'cause
point.
you
Okay,
truly
so let me explain.
you sound like people are either against you, but if they
No.
criticize you, they are not. And yet here you are, Cenk, telling the entire right wing that all you want to do is break bread with them, that you want to debate with them, but afterward you want to go have a beer.
Yes, I do.
You want to have
All
a
you
beer
wanna
with
do is
people
hate
who
them.
want
How does that work out for us, Franny?
who
How
want
does
to
the
put
hate work
people
out
in
for us?
mass deportation camps. They want to deport.
You
They're starting
think we're
with
going to get put in camps? You sound all right. Anyway,
You think I?
He thinks she sounds crazy, bro. Cenk Uygur was literally screaming to like Anna Kasparian how Trump is a literal Nazi, a fascist, for trying to overthrow the election, having fake electors, and hanging out with Kanye West and Nick Fuentes. But now that he is trying to join the right wing, he can't do that.
I sound crazy. They're starting with Chinese people. That's my fucking family, dog. Like, what are you
Franny,
talking about?
That's such an excuse. Okay, they're going to
what
start
is
with
an
Muslims.
excuse?
They're going to
What
start
is
with my people. Okay,
Sure,
if they
sure,
start
sure.
at all.
Kinda, they're
So
gonna have a people
stop
battle.
hiding behind vulnerable communities.
I'm hiding behind vulnerable
Yes,
communities.
you are. You're using
I'm
them as human
standing in
shields.
front of vulnerable communities.
No,
Cenk,
you're
what are
not.
you doing? What are
No,
you doing?
I'm in front of vulnerable communities.
Talking to
I'm the
Elon.
most endangered,
By
Franny.
tweeting at Elon Musk? Please
whatever.
don't help me. Come
Okay,
on,
so this
Cenk.
is
This is
total
so
BS.
sad. That's
Okay,
so
so
sad.
let's break
Well, let's take it down. Let's simmer down. No. Simmer down. I'm asking. Let me just ask you. Real honest to God.
You already said 12 things that I need to
honest
respond
God.
to. Can I respond to them?
No, I want to ask you this one
No, of
question.
course not.
Let's talk about you going on these shows. Just simmer down. Let me ask you one question. Imagine if Kamala Harris had won. Okay, she wins. She wins the popular vote. She wins obviously the Electoral College. Incredible, first female president, blah, 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 all this stuff. And Tucker Carlson started making all these rounds on like really like progressive leftist shows, went on Kyle's show, went on my show. I'm like, who the hell? Started reaching out and wanting to talk and wanting to come to agreement on things. What would that look like to you?
Yeah, it would look like Tucker was trying to reach out. Tucker's a bad example because I would be surprised if he did that. But okay, yeah, no problem.
What would it look like to you?
Care. I wouldn't. And do I think that Tucker would be selling out? No, there's no chance.
No. Well, I'm not. It's not about selling out. What would that like? What would it just seem like? Hey, man, we can agree. Yeah, you know what? I did say that Kamala Harris was a DEI hire, and she's basically a
It
communist.
looks like they're losing.
But now I just feel like I've antagonized you, and I'm here to like break bread and let's talk and let's get stuff done. What would that look like to you?
It would look surprising, but I wouldn't care. I'd find it interesting. Why? What does it look like to you?
I mean, to me, if Tucker Carlson did that, I'd be like, oh, we fucking won. We won like crazy. We won so resoundingly. He's doing an apology tour because 3 ghosts visited him in the middle of the night, and he's completely changed his tune because he wants to throw down with the winners. We are crushing it. And I saw in that moment, you want me to play it for you? When Charlie Kirk goes, "We're glad Cenk's here, everybody." And that was the feeling that I think a lot of right-wingers have when they look at you, Cenk, where they're like, damn, yo, we crushed so hard. Even this guy is turning now.
Yeah, except I'm not turning. I've said it 2,000 times.
I'm just saying what it would look like. I'm just saying what it would look.
You keep saying it like it's true when it isn't remotely true. But okay, let me address it. So, okay, number one, you're empirically wrong because guess what's happening? Matt Gaetz has reached out to us, Tucker Carlson, to come on our shows. And so it's your exact analogy, okay? Patrick Bet-David, et cetera, and they won. They're still trying to come on the Young Turks. Why? Because they're trying to have a conversation, not because they want to do an apology tour. They think they are ascendant, but nevertheless, they want to talk to the left.
But you had to make it's because they think that
your version of the left says, no way, we never talk to the other side. But we're not authoritarian.
Jake, that's not true.
We're not authoritarian. You're not allowed to disagree 1%, but we're not authoritarian. We have no power, so we're not authoritarian.
I don't think Cenk Uygur knows what the word authoritarian means.
So that's not how it works, Franny. And the establishment Democrats are also authoritarian. So what do they say? You must agree with Kamala Harris.
Wow, everybody but the Republicans are authoritarian. Okay.
That's it. You're a heretic and you're being driven out from the party. You know that. The establishment Democrats have done that to us for the last 20 years. Don't tell me that there's no power on the left. There's tons of power on the left. And when the
Democrats are not left, bro. They're like center left and mostly center, though. The Democratic Party is very centrist. They're capitalist. They're corporate. They're in the center. The left are usually not in power. There's a few of them like AOC, Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar. A few people in power that are leftists, Bernie Sanders, but like they're barely there. They're barely any leftists. So don't say that the left has power, Cenk Uygur.
Swarm comes, the left-wing swarm. Oh, you'd like to be called a woman. You racist, fascist, transphobe. What? I'm not authoritarian. No, that is an authoritarian mindset. You don't have to have power to have an authoritarian mindset. And there's different...
An authoritarian mindset, that's not a thing. You're either authoritarian or you're not.
Different versions of power. There's the shunning power. There's social media power. There's mainstream media power. There's political power. There's all sorts of different power. So look, guys, the left. First of all,
there's also just money and actual power.
It gets back to the we. So you ask me politically, who do I represent? I represent the great majority of left-wing voters. The great majority of left-wing voters are not pro-establishment. They get tricked by mainstream media into voting in that direction. It drives me absolutely nuts. But when you ask them about policies, they agree with us completely on policies, right? And the great majority of left-wing voters are not far left. They think a woman should be called a woman. And I'm not saying that in some dismissive way. I'm in favor of trans rights. If you want to be called a birthing person, we love it. We got no problem with it. You be called a birthing person. But when you say no, we call everyone a birthing person. America hates it. Left-wing voters hate it. When you pretend there's no crime, left-wing voters hate it. So I'm standing up for the overwhelming majority of Democratic voters and left-wing voters.
I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying.
Authoritarian sides of the left saying you're not allowed to disagree with the establishment. You're not allowed to disagree with the extreme left. No, I am allowed. I am allowed. And,
hang on. Wait, please. I don't want to lose the forest for the trees here, truly. And I hear what you're saying. I know it can feel online like a circular firing squad. I understand.
Billion percent. It happens every time.
I know it does. So I come from movement backgrounds, right? I've been in many spaces since the global justice movement in the early 2000s, then the anti-Iraq war movement. I've been in a lot of organizing spaces. I have been in more organizing spaces, far left spaces, than I have in campaigns, political campaigns.
She's been in more organizing stuff than Cenk has.
For example. So I know those spaces very well. I know we can often over-police one another. I know we can tear each other's throats out. I absolutely concede that. I do agree with that. At this moment, sad to say, that's not the biggest fish we have to fry. In fact, we're in, again, a moment just before Project 2025 will be implemented, and people like myself, people who are on the streets demonstrating for Palestine, will be recommended for deportation, among many other things. But of course, I guess maybe I'm using that as a shield. I don't know, according to you. But I did want to ask Cenk before this. I want to ask you about who the establishment is in your mind. Who is the establishment and who is not the establishment?
Great question. So Nancy Pelosi, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, Gavin Newsom, all of the corporate Democrats who take corporate PAC money, serve their corporate donors 100%, lie to us 24/7.
He just named Democrats, so you're not gonna name like all the fucking Republicans and all the centrists, and you, including you took Polymarket money. Polymarket is Peter Thiel. He's a billionaire who's friends with Elon and J.D. Vance and all them other assholes. So you're kind of in that territory, buddy.
Never intend to do any progressive policy positions, never intend to do any Democratic policy positions that they state in campaigns, and are backed by the liars in mainstream media, pretending that they're on our side when they're playing good cop, bad cop with establishment Republicans and robbing us blind on behalf of their donors.
Do you think that Donald Trump and Elon Musk are establishment?
So they're complicated. The reason they're complicated is because they act like the establishment. They do the same robberies, the same corporate tax cuts, but they are pretending to be populists.
They act like the establishment. But they're not the establishment, is what he's saying. Don't you understand how fucking retarded that is? They are the establishment. They're just the right-wing version of the establishment.
And that's why I've called Donald Trump a fake populist hundreds of times, right? And I've called him a fake populist on right-wing shows. And I've said, hey, watch out for your own donors on right-wing shows, right? And so, but they're not part of this the machine that was the Borg. Mitch McConnell and Joe Biden were the co-captains of the Borg, and that machine was unstoppable, and that machine was, maintains corporate rule, and that's my mortal enemy. That Borg is the one we should all be fighting against.
Joe Manchin is not even in politics anymore. He retired.
So do you think it's less bad that one person donates $277 million to a candidate versus 5 people donating $277 million to a candidate? Elon Musk gave $277 million to Donald Trump and is now, again, worth $400 billion. Is that somehow less establishment in your mind?
So there's 2 parts of it, Franny. One is they at least talk the populist game, and the advantage of that is that also spread through the right-wing base. That, hey, them faking populism, remember, the people that are hearing that message don't realize it's fake, right? Mm-hmm. So they're talking anti-war, they're talking anti-corporate. You see Tucker Carlson talking anti-corporate. You see Steve Bannon saying we should increase corporate taxes. That doesn't mean Steve Bannon is an angel, but what it does mean, or anywhere near it, but what it does mean is that idea of populism and anti-establishment, et cetera, is spreading throughout the right wing. That is an amazing opportunity for us to actually coalesce on economic populism that they now believe in, even if their leader doesn't, right? So that's point 1, and it's super important. Point 2 is, in some ways, that individual corruption is worse, and in some ways it's better. So how is it worse? So Miriam Adelson gives, $137 million to Trump, and Sheldon Adelson had given him $200 million in previous campaigns. So he delivers foreign policy to the Adelson family, right?
Right.
Moved our embassy in his first term. Now he's thinking about allowing the annexation of northern Gaza and the West Bank. And you saw me fight tooth and nail against Trump, because that's what I was really, really worried about, that he's going to go and be extreme and radical to serve his top donors. On Elon, he handed all of domestic policy to him. So that's how it's worse. How in the world could it be at the same time a little bit better? Well, the way that it's better is that it's not a machine. It's chaotic. So it's one guy here and another person there, but the other person disagrees with Miriam, and then Trump doesn't quite know what to do, and he listens to the last person in the room, but he also kind of listens to his base. We've got chaos there, and chaos is way better than a machine. A machine is ruthless and just steamrolls you.
So I think that's
nothing worse than the McConnell-Biden era. Nothing worse.
Okay, I do want to talk about the McConnell-Biden era and establishment a little bit more, but just on that, I feel like my very first question to you is, well, what are you doing? I feel like that's the most cogent answer I've gotten from you that I could sort of get on board with, which is exploit the chaos to turn
I heard someone said in the comments, why not have a beer with Sam Cedar? because you know he'll destroy you.
Against Trump. But even if you wanted to do that, I'm not sure you're achieving it through the kinds of interviews that you're doing and the way that you're playing to the right, especially when you go on those stages and hit the left more than you do the right. But I just want to leave that there. I accept the hey, let's, plant the booby traps so that we can make them fall into them later, that kind of thing. That makes the most sense to me, even if I sort of strategically disagree with it. I want to talk about the establishment, though, and Mitch McConnell. So, for example, Mitch McConnell, who I am no fan on, obviously, believes that there should not be recess appointments for the Trump administration. Would you say that that is establishment, ergo you are anti that and anti-establishment?
Mitch McConnell is against recess appointments.
Yes.
So that one's a super tough one because sometimes the establishment will block something. Like if Bernie was president and he wanted to put in Stephanie Kelton as Treasury Secretary, I actually would disagree with that. But I put that as an example. The establishment would say, no way, and it would block it with everything that they have. There is a scenario where I would say, Bernie, do a recess appointment, right? And so on the other hand, if Bernie came in and said, I don't care about advice and consent of the Senate, I'm just going to do everyone as a recess appointment, I would say, no, don't do that. Don't do that. That's not a good idea.
Why?
So
because it's anti-democratic. Was that?
Yeah. The core of so, Franny, the core of the question is, when we talk about the system, what do we mean by the system? Because there's two different systems that people refer to, and then they conflate them. The system we want to protect is democracy, the Constitution, civil rights, etc. That's the system that we love and believe in. The system we do not want to protect and we want to fight against is donor money, establishment, protecting the status quo, protecting corporate rule. So separate those two things out, because the permanent system of the Constitution and democracy is great. The current system of corruption and establishment rule is horrible.
Yeah. Do you understand that the right actually just conflates those two things?
I think the left often conflates those two things too.
Oh my God.
Well, okay, so you would be in favor of Donald Trump doing recess appointments, or you wouldn't in this case?
So if he's doing blanket recess appointments, I'm against it. I always think shoe on the other foot. That's why I brought up Bernie Sanders. In order to be fair, hey, how would I feel if it was the other way around? If he does one or two, I understand it as a matter of philosophy.
Okay.
But if he does a recess appointment, I'm very likely to be against that particular person, like a Kash Patel or Pete Hegseth. He's going to do recess appointments on the most radical culture warrior stuff that I hate. I hate when the right does culture war stuff. I don't love it when the left does it, but I certainly hate it when the right does it. And so I'm worried about his recess appointments because of the people, the specific people that he's likely to do them with.
One of those things also in terms of this establishment and anti-establishment sort of framework that you're using is also Project 2025 and Russell Vogt, who he just appointed to be the head of the Office of Management and Budget. Russell Vogt would like to fire federal workers, replace them with loyalists. He also wants to use the military to target political dissidents. This is all obviously in Project 2025 that he helped to offer. Is that establishment or anti-establishment? There's nothing more anti-establishment than firing a bunch of federal workers. Do you believe that that's a populist thing to do?
No, it's fake populism. And so it's so alluring to the MAGA base.
Just say it's right-wing populism, my guy. Why do you gotta say fake populism?
Like, oh, we're fighting against the government, right? But what I'm trying to get them to understand is, like, you guys, they think that the government is a blanket bad thing. And so the story I often tell on these shows is the one that Matt Stoller does. Great progressive, done great anti-monopoly work in the Senate, et cetera, which is, hey, what size pipe should I get? And people always ask, and that's why Matt does it this way, well, what job are you doing? It depends. And that's exactly the point that I make to these right-wingers. Do we want big government or little government? Well, it depends, right? Are we invading Iraq? Then I want smaller government, right? Are we going to invade doctors' offices and get between a woman and a doctor? Then I want smaller government, right? But if we're going to protect the average American from the bankers, then I want a little bit larger government. I don't want to defund the police on Wall Street, right? So I explained that, hey, if you fire people that are at the IRS, guess who's it's going to help the most? the very rich who cheat on their taxes.
But they all
right?
want to audit the Pentagon, which the IRS doesn't do. But it's very interesting that, you got everyone to cheer auditing the Pentagon. But of course, the idea of auditing billionaires, the Republicans are absolutely against that because they've been trying to defund the IRS. Exactly.
Right.
To
And
your
remember, again, there's different layers of right wing now. There's their leaders who are almost, uniformly full of crap. Then there's, a middle bureaucracy, and then there's the voters. And the voters, and Franny, you don't have to trust me on this because those MAGA guys, they will tell you exactly what they think. They're not holding anything back. They have no need to lie to you.
Yeah, they've been telling us for many, many years.
Yeah. So they're also not lying when they say they're anti-war, anti-corruption. They might have been misdirected, but they're not lying. So what I'm
That's
trying to
not true, bro. They're anti-war when it's a Democrat in fucking office. When it's a Republican in office, they are pro-war. They don't care.
get them to see is firing the federal workers is not the answer.
Yeah.
Cutting the Pentagon is part of the answer.
Yeah.
And so when they say yes to cutting the Pentagon, they're not lying. The MAGA voters actually want to cut the Pentagon.
What
Whether
do
their
you
leaders
think?
will do it is a completely different question. And so one more thing that's super important, though. It's not a booby trap, Franny. I understand what you're saying, and that's one way to frame it. But in my mind, when you have people who actually agree, you're not tricking them. You're just getting them to see, guys, you wanted to cut the Pentagon, but look, your leaders didn't cut the Pentagon. So do you see how they led you astray? Right? I'm actually getting them to a position. I'm just showing them that their leaders are not doing the things that they promised. On the other hand, sometimes Trump responds to his base. So if that base gets angry enough and says, hey, let's cut the Pentagon, maybe Trump does cut the Pentagon, where Biden never would, McConnell never would. In the Biden-McConnell era, the Pentagon's only going to get increased forever and ever and ever. Corruption is always going to increase forever and ever and ever.
I mean, wait, just on
an
this.
advantage for us is that he likes to be popular. He just doesn't know how. So,
Sure. So I just really want to, just drill down on a couple of those things. And then there's a lot to talk about, and I don't want to take too much of your time, but just on this new MAGA, old MAGA thing. I've heard you say new MAGA as you talk about anti-corruption, anti-war. Cenk, they were like that in 2016, man. I mean, let's be honest. The reason Donald Trump just destroyed the Republican primary was absolutely being an outsider, right? And sort of purported, seemingly anti-establishment, even though, he's a billionaire, part of the elite. But it really was around being against the Iraq war. Now, for his reasoning was, we should have taken all the oil, F those, whatever, like enter expletive, right? Which I think gets to another point. But he was also, remember, in terms of the corruption stuff, they wanted to get rid of, what was it? They wanted term limits. They had term limits and were suggesting them early on. So the actual the outgrowth of an entire country tired of 8 years of Bush and endless war, and also that was, suffering from the 2008 financial collapse and didn't have any faith in the banks and these financial institutions and all the politicians that protect them and that was already in the ether, right? And you had a Bernie Sanders and you had Donald Trump. And of course, the actual establishment, that the centrists that I hate as well, were trying to say Bernie is exactly like Donald Trump. Look at him. He's using the same. No. They were very different. And that's why I wanted to talk to you about the differences between right-wing populism and left-wing populism. I think there is a difference, and there's a very important difference.
Yes, girl.
That difference is historical as well. Right-wing populism often feeds off of nativism, off of othering immigrants, religious minorities, blaming those people, and then we can have the socialism, right? That's why obviously in Hitler's Third Reich, you've got a National Socialist Party, right? This is Germany for the Germans, and there are people who are in Germany are the Germans and people who are not the Germans. That also in this country, although you scoff when I talk about Chinese Americans, there was the Chinese Exclusion Act, specifically dividing working class people in this country based on race, saying the Chinese are the reason you don't have anything. They're the ones taking all of our jobs, even though we know that the rich robber barons were...
Shit.
specifically dividing working class people in this country based on race, saying the Chinese are the reason you don't have anything. They're the ones taking all of our jobs, even though we know that the rich robber barons were absolutely taking advantage of them, just like we know that all the Trump donors who paid for their positions in this administration are also taking advantage of undocumented labor. So do you see a difference between right-wing populism and left-wing populism? And are you not barking up not just the wrong tree, but a very, very dangerous one?
Yeah. So, no, I think there's a massive difference. And so first, let me just really quickly address what you said about the Chinese. So the Chinese were the only nationality ever banned from America. Trump considered a Muslim ban, but didn't actually execute one. The Chinese were actually banned from America for a long time. So I know all about racism against Chinese, and obviously that also sprung up during COVID, et cetera. But I just in that heated moment there, I was saying that the Chinese, are maybe third or fourth in line these days, Muslims. And
not
trans
from what
people
they're
are
talking about. I mean, I'm just looking at what they're saying, which is like, this would be the easiest group to sweep up. Like, I'm just saying, not like Chinese immigrants who've been here for decades. No,
Yeah,
I understand. That's why I said that. I didn't just pick it because I'm Chinese. I literally just looked to what they're talking about. But
No,
anyway,
Look,
but
my
so you
kids are
do
Chinese,
agree.
So
you
I'm not.
Sure.
I'm worried
you
about.
agree, though. You agree that there is a difference between left-wing populism and right-wing populism.
Yeah. So now let's get to the core of it. So there's left-wing and right-wing populists on social issues disagree more than we disagree with the establishment. The establishment is generally like, we don't really care if you're Chinese, Muslim, whatever. The only color we care about is green. As long as we let us rob you from here to eternity, I'm good with it. We'll allow Peruvians to rob you.
Bro, Francesca dies. She's dying inside, dude. She's dying inside.
Jews, Muslims, Christians, everybody can rob you, right? And so...
And the establishment is, again, just Biden, Kamala Harris.
McConnell, everyone who takes corporate donations and serves corporate donors, okay?
But not Donald Trump, because he doesn't take corporate, except for all the corporate money he's taking. But he's different. Okay, keep going. Okay,
Wait,
I'm just trying to understand who the establishment is and isn't.
Corporate back money. I mean, how many times can I call him a fake populist before you believe me? Okay, so the establishment is better on social and cultural issues than the populist right is. So that's why, this is not, you can't make blanket things like, in my opinion, never talk to them. They're all racist, etc.
I never said that. I never said not to talk to them. I never said that.
Hold on. Or they're all
who's saying
and
this?
They've all turned and they're all amazing and are going to agree with us. No, of course not, right? So, but on economic issues, we agree a lot more, way more. And that's super important. And so, and you know what it is, Franny? They're using the culture wars, in my opinion, to create a wedge between us. That's why they're called wedge issues, to get us to hate one another instead of realizing that the problem isn't to our left or right. It's up, look up. The problem is up, right? And so but right-wing populists on that nativist strand that they have, which is real, yes, it's scary and it's super wrong-headed. And it does put us in the line of fire. So when Steve Bannon, he says both of those things. He says tax the rich, increase tax on corporations. And then he says my favorite book is Camp of the Saints, where the hero murders all the immigrants that are coming into France, right? So virulently anti-immigrant, right? And so I don't want to empower the Steve Bannons of the world and the Ann Coulters of the world to do their crazy stuff, right? That is anti-immigrant, anti-my family, anti-me, anti all the people we care about, the American people, the left, everyone, right? But we get to fight them on that, Franny. We don't have to say like blanket Steve Bannon is great, Charlie Kirk's great. No, and I've been so clear about this.
So you think you've been fighting? You think you've been fighting them?
Oh, on the issues we disagree on, hell yeah. And so I got into a fight in trigonometry over, in that show, over trans girls in high school sports. And they're outraged by it. And they're like, oh, what if your daughter comes in second place in cross country? I'm like, who gives a crap, right? You guys are going to check the genitalia of millions of kids because you're on this like trans phobic like mania, right? Just settle down. These are culture wars. They're dividing us. Stop letting them divide us.
I think one thing that's really hard, and this is just in general, like we can talk about trans issues. I actually want to play a clip from your Turning Points conference, but I do just think that one of the biggest
here we go.
issues for me that is not it's not hypothetical, it's very real, which is the right to an abortion. And that is one thing that I think a lot of the so-called right-wing populists don't really give a shit about, especially not the mouthpieces of Donald Trump. They don't care that women are bleeding out from miscarriages and dying, going into septic shock. They don't care that they're being turned away from hospitals, that, yeah, their life or death is dependent on a bureaucracy right now. That seems like a difficult thing to find a so-called middle ground on, and I feel like we're just sort of ending up with this hypothetical discussion rather than talking about the actual people who are dying literally right now as I speak.
So, Franny, number one, you can't find a middle ground on everything. My idea isn't that we're magically going to kumbaya on every issue. That's crazy, right?
Okay.
So that's why I keep saying thousands of times, when we disagree, we fight. And the good news is,
but I don't want to get a beer with someone who thinks that I should, go into septic shock instead of be attended by a physician.
Yeah, so I know that this is the thought that's breaking a lot of people's minds,
but you need to have a beer with them.
You should. So please let me explain why. Okay. So it's so easy for both sides to say, no, that their way of thinking is so antithetical to what we think, so wrong, that I will never have a beer with them. I will never talk to them. And every time I see them, I'm going to say racist or sexist or some sort of charge to show my moral superiority. But hold on. Remember, they think their radical right is saying the same exact thing to them, to Patrick Bet-David, to Charlie Kirk, to everyone who hosts me. They're like, Cenk called us fascist. Cenk believes trans girls should be allowed to compete in high school sports. And Cenk is a radical on this, and Cenk is a radical, and he thinks he's a Muslim, and he's this, and he's that, etc. So they say, don't have a beer with him. Don't talk to him, right? So, but that's exactly how we get siloed. And instead of having conversations and realizing, yes, we massively disagree on 60, maybe 80% of issues, but for Christ's sake, on some of the most important issues, that 20 to
You don't need to have a beer with Charlie Kirk. Come on, bro.
40% where we agree on economic populism, we never get to an agreement, and then the establishment laughs their ass off at us.
Sure, but Cenk, because
we got them to hate each other.
If your 5% of disagreement with me is I don't believe you should have equal rights under medical law, I fuck you. You know what I'm saying? Like wait, hang on. It's not fuck you. It's I'll see you when I beat you. Do you know what I'm saying? And this is to me what left-wing populism is about. This is what Bernie was so good at doing. He would never throw anyone under the bus. He would always remember black, white, gay, straight, Muslim, Jewish. Like, he kept on going, and he'd be like, when's he gonna finish this laundry list of people he wants to bring on board to the political revolution? And it was brilliant, and he never forgot to do it. And he never caped to the right or the right-wing framing. He said, yes, he might work with Trump on some labor stuff. Did Trump want to do that shit? Of course he didn't, right? Did Trump vetoed a bill that he finally got passed to not sell Saudi Arabia weapons when he finally reached across the aisle. Everything you're talking about, it's all fine, but we're like little insects bumping up in a fucking diorama because at the top is goddamn Trump. And if you don't kiss that ring, then you're absolutely nothing. And so to me, I'm like, I will beat the right, but I will win back these voters, but I will win them back with ideas, with plans, with real policy. And yes, of course, with making our movements and the left welcoming and absolutely doing all of the things that, to be honest, the right doesn't do, because you are absolutely off your shit if you think that the right and left are equally hateful, and that's what
Yeah,
I'm
we're
hearing
not.
from you, that you think that somehow the left and the right, nah, they both hate equally. Both of them want to intern people. Both of
Like,
them.
I might shit on people. I might shit on, like, conservatives, especially the ones in power, like the powerful politicians. I might make fun of them, make fun of their beliefs, make fun of the laws they like, make fun of Christianity. But I would always fight for their human rights and their health care and for their job security. Because that's leftism. Leftism is to fight for people's, like, human rights and their jobs and their bodily autonomy and all that. Like, you can still joke about stuff. Doesn't mean you have to be all serious all the time. And, like, no. I'm ultra nice. I am Cenk Uygur. Hi, I'm Cenk Uygur. We disagree, but we can have a beer. No, I'm going to tell you you're wrong if I think you're wrong. But I will still fight for your health care and your human rights and stuff. Like, that's what separates us from Nazis and fascists, you know? The left from the right.
Believe that some people don't deserve rights, and I want to play this because this was a very awkward moment.
Franny,
I'm a stand-up comedian.
Things that are wrong.
No,
Bernie agrees with my positions 100%.
Wait,
so
who?
What you described about Bernie is exactly me, and so that's why I'm like, what Bernie has the same positions as me, the same idea, the same framing. In fact, he's agreed with Elon Musk on cutting the Pentagon in the exact same way that I have. And yet Bernie's an angel and I'm the devil. Like, that's crazy.
No one's saying that you're the devil.
That's crazy.
Bernie actually, like, builds. He's not making the rounds. He's not making the rounds and not pushing back. He's not pushing back.
He published an op-ed in Fox News today. He makes the rounds exactly like I do.
That's
exactly like I do.
Good. No, I think that's important. But honestly, Cenk, like, file your nails or something, because this was not good. This was not a good look during that conference.
I want to ask you guys something. Do you believe that trans Americans should have the same constitutional rights as all Americans to employment, health care, and housing? Constitutional rights.
Okay, Cenk, I'm a stand-up comic, so I listen to crowds regularly. I know when they are booing, groaning, or in this case, there is a whistle of disapproval, and I know when they are cheering. Now, let's play it again. They're not on board with trans people having the same constitutional rights.
I want to ask you guys something. Do you believe that trans Americans should have the same constitutional rights as all Americans to employment, health care, and housing? Constitutional rights.
Do you want me to translate?
You got like maybe like a sixth of the audience. There's a couple people clapping very, very. No, okay.
So,
and then
Franny, let's break it down.
This is the best. Wait, this is the best part. You got to keep watching because it's the best that, like, not only you get hung out to dry on this, like, can we all agree, shtick that you're on, and they don't meet you, and then Charlie meets you with this
Constitutional right to housing.
Wait, I love it.
Well, there is no constitutional right to housing.
So then he goes like, wait a minute, not only don't I not agree with you on the trans people, because he never answered it. He's like, actually, fuck your right to housing anyway. And I know that's not even what the Constitution says. It's just equal protection around housing, right? It doesn't say you have a right to housing. I wish it did. But, like, it's just amazing to me. Like, do you see? And you look at him, and there's a moment you're just kind of like, there's just this moment, and it's just like, what are we doing, Jake? Like, what? What's going on here?
See, this is a great example. You're being so unbelievably unfair about
No,
that
she's
interaction.
not.
The reason I did that, Franny, and I knew I was taking a big risk.
You were.
Is because I wanted to try to get some of them because I've done it on other right-wing shows and it worked really well. It didn't work really well this time. That's why it was a risk. But I challenged them on how trans people are like every American and they should have constitutional rights.
Well, let's watch a little bit. Let's watch whether you did it. Let's
Oh.
watch whether you did it. Did you do it or not?
Let me finish,
Oh.
Did you do it or not?
Important, and you're totally smearing me on a thing that is crazy.
I'm playing you the clip. I'm not smearing you. I'm literally playing the clip. Jink, I'm playing the clip.
Will you let me talk? I said I had the courage to challenge them on constitutional rights for trans.
I had the courage to go on and get booed at and say, "Oh, you guys are so accepting, and if you disagree 5%, you love me."
People, you asked me to have the courage to challenge them. I did, and now you're attacking me for it.
No, I'm not attacking. I'm not attacking you for it. I'm saying you have characterized this.
Look at this. They didn't agree with you.
No. I'm saying
you're trying to get them to agree to constitutional rights. That's exactly what we should do. We should say trans people are just like every American citizens, and they should have constitutional rights. I go and have the courage to challenge that audience to that, and then you want to make fun of it? Like
I'm saying
agree with you. What do you want? Do you want me to challenge them, or do you not want me to challenge them? Make up your mind.
It was a big swing. You agreed that it was a little bit of a miss.
And you missed.
And I think.
By the way, you're not exactly right about that either. So I was in the room. 2/3 of them cheered. 1/3 of them clearly did not, and groaned and cheered.
The people who were
Charlie,
cheering
it
were
was,
not mic'd properly. I understand. Look. It was a swing. It's good you asked, but I didn't think that you really had like a save for that, because I think you were like, you actually gave them credit for the few people that agreed. And meanwhile, Cenk, you have so much disdain
for the left,
for our side. If I say, hey, I believe trans people should play in sports, you have so much disdain. You get so mad. But here you are, and here is what you say.
Constitutional right to housing.
Okay, so I hear you.
I hear you. I
hear you. Guys.
I'm just trying to be the interpreter.
Yeah. No, there was a lot of applause and there was some consternation, right? I'll take it. It's a start. So guys, when we can even disagree about what's constitutional, Second Amendment, housing, etc. But just let's treat everyone as Americans. And I say that to the right and I say it to the left.
Sure.
Okay, so,
When's the last time they heard that message? Never.
Thank you for, I guess thank you, but you have so much grace for people who really were groaning and not on board with what you said.
When did I say I have grace for that?
I mean, no, you said it right there. You said, hey, I'll take it. And it was like, this is what we got to do.
2/3 of the room said, yay, trans constitutional rights. When's the last time 2/3 of AmFest cheered for constitutional rights?
Why do you not extend the same grace to so-called radical leftists?
I'm really glad we're back to this, Franny, because this is important. And we mentioned in the beginning, and I wanted to come back to it.
Mm-hmm.
So, having grace for the left, I run the network, and everybody gets to have their own opinion. Everybody gets to fight me. Everybody gets to state their own opinion without any editorial control.
That's not true.
Well, first of all,
you do go ballistic on them like you went ballistic on me earlier.
Yeah,
you do get, and you always say you're wrong.
Yeah,
you want me to do that? I can do it. You're wrong. You're an idiot. You're wrong. We can do it. We know what you do when you disagree. It's not. It's not. I'll take it.
Hold on. This is super important for the audience to know. But so we fight, right? When we disagree, I say you're wrong, you say I'm wrong.
Very rarely.
Is there any consequences afterwards? Do I then threaten your job?
Do I fire you? I
take people off the air?
I mean, I barely have a job with y'all, but look, first of all, we rarely ever, back to what I'm saying, Cenk, who's your main co-host?
Anna, on the Young Turks.
When you say
that there's like over 24 Young Turks contributors and hosts.
I know. I understand that.
So, okay, but Franny,
I'm trying to tell you that there is in fact, Cenk, let's just be real. We said this privately. I'll say it publicly now. About a year ago, around the time of the trans stuff, and the trans sports stuff, you said to me, hey, Francesca, just so you know, and I don't think it's not a secret, but you didn't tell the audience, but it was like, hey, just so you know, like TYT main show is kind of like mainstream progressives. Like that's sort of what we want to be. And, we're more mainstream, just so you know, we're like moderate progressives kind of thing. And I was like, okay. And then I said to you, why don't we have a debate? Like, why don't you bring John and I on? We debate, you and Anna. We could talk about trans issues. We could talk about, crime. We could talk about all the things that always, get under our skirts. Like, we could talk about that stuff. And that was like, you didn't seem that very excited about that.
Franny, that is a crazy standard. So first of all,
standard. No, I'm just being honest. Like, just to say, like, we've
Franny,
never
can I
had that
just
space.
Can I answer? Okay.
Are you mad someone's talking too much? Is Cenk Uygur mad someone else is talking too much?
So when do I get animated? When people cut me off. That's what drives me crazy. Okay. So now, the thing that you just said that was our private conversation, I literally said at the very beginning of this broadcast. Okay. So I said populist establishment is one spectrum, and we're on the extreme end of populism. Left-right spectrum is different, and we're not on the extreme of the left. I said we're kind of in the middle, not the moderate.
He's a centrist, dude. He's a centrist Democrat.
BS that the mainstream media does, right? Oh, Joe Manchin is moderate. No, he's not. Joe Biden and Mitch McConnell are moderate. No, they're not. They're radical corporatists. Okay, they've perverted the word. Okay, so
Cenk is making his own new style of centrism.
Am I in the center of the left? Yes, I'm in the center of the left, and so is Anna. So, like, people catch feelings over that, but the polling shows it, elections show it, everything shows we're in the center of the left, and I'm proud to be there. I don't want to be on the far left.
I don't think,
but I don't block anyone from being on the far left. And we've had thousands of conversations, and the reason why I'm saying your standard is unfair is you're saying you and John were not involved in those debates, but I've had those debates on air, and I'll have more. I don't care. I'm not shy about it at all. Do I look shy about debating or discussing? So if you want to have another one on the Young Turks, me and you at the 5 o'clock hour or whatever it might be, because 3 to 5. So I'm saying Pacific time. Everybody knows Monday through Friday, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern, we do the show, and that's a news show. So we go through the news items, right? But now sometimes what we're doing is at 5 o'clock, we're having guests on for longer conversations. So if more progressives that are on the just as populist as us or somewhere else on the populist spectrum, but to the left of us on that spectrum want to come on, great. I believe in my opinions 100%. I'm here to defend it. That's why I'm on this show. So, but what gets me animated is when others say, no, Cenk, you are not allowed to have that opinion. I give everybody the space to have their own opinion, and I run the network. But Cenk, even though you run the network, even if you didn't run the network,
bro, I'm drinking like hair supplement stuff from Nutrafol. This Nutrafol powder. This Nutrafol powder, you put it in water. It smells like fucking like a fish bowl with a fish in it, like dirty fish water.
You're not allowed to have that opinion because that opinion aids and abets racist, sexist, whatever excuse we're using. But you're not allowed to have it as an immoral opinion, and you're not. And I do not agree to that.
I've been an example for the last hour of trying to hear you out on your opinion on all of this, and I feel like I've gotten, when the converse happens and I explain that I think that there's a fine line between being anti-establishment and fascistic. There is a fine line between being populist and pro-authoritarian. That so many throughout history, authoritarians, Mussolini, have been massive populists. They were loved and liked so long as certain groups of people weren't included in that populism. And I think there's a better way to do populism. And so
okay, you tell me, Franny, what's your genius idea for how to win the voters back without ever talking to them?
Well, here's my genius idea. Let's just say, okay, just imagine you had the biggest YouTube channel for, progressive media. Just imagine you had that. And you had a massive failure in the Democratic establishment. Kamala Harris gets her ass handed to her. Biden didn't drop out. And people are scrambling. They're running like, rats off a sinking ship from MSNBC, from Pod Save America, and all these Beltway bros that lied to them about the Democratic Party having this in the bag, knowing what they were doing, that never talked about capitalism, that never talked about corporate donors, that never talked about any of that stuff. And I would love, if I had a network, to be the place where people from the center left or liberals, the wicked liberals to come over and say, hey, let's think systematically about this. Let's think long-term about this. Let's think about political revolution. Let's think about getting serious about the 99% against the 1%. That's what I would do.
That's exactly what I'm doing. So you're welcome.
No, you're not.
I explained exactly.
I don't.
Hold on, let me answer.
I don't see you doing that.
Well, you're wrong. Again, you're wrong. So I explained how Pod Save America and The View and Morning Joe were so full of crap, pretending that they knew all along that Joe Biden was had trouble. Then why didn't you say it, you liars? Why did you protect him all along? I ran against Joe Biden. I did a petition against Joe Biden. I said we should do an open primary. My number one motivating factor is to find a populist left figure that wins that 2028 primary. That is the most important thing in the world. And now you've got me scared, Franny, that all of a sudden, like, if the far left peels off and goes and agrees with the establishment and votes with them, I will lose my freaking mind. It will be the greatest betrayal of this movement that I have ever seen. So I am massively against.
I don't think you can.
The far left.
Anyone on the left should be massively against the establishment. So what you're using is fear of the right.
Bro, we didn't like Kamala Harris, you fucking idiot. We didn't want her to win, but like she's the only choice we had.
Right-wing populism going south on us, which is a real fear, which I'm trying to guard against. To say, like, to now all of a sudden, like, well, maybe the establishment's not so bad. No, the establishment's horrible. It's horrible. I'm not going back in that prison. I'd rather be in the populous woods with real human beings fighting and battling and trying to get to the right answer and the right coalitions than to be in an establishment prison where we're now locked up by Mitch McConnell and goddamn Dick Cheney and Joe Biden and Pelosi, and we're marched back into continue the robbery. Thank you, sir, for the robbery. We appreciate your stupid
and the right's
robbery.
not robbing people. The right doesn't rob people.
So no, but look at that, Franny. Look at what you're saying. I just said 200 times in this interview that Trump's a fake populist. And there's going to be a huge robbery.
But you don't explain that to the audience when you go to these stupid podcasts, these right-wing podcasts. Cenk never explains that to the audience that the Republicans are also bad. He never says that. He never says that. He never says Trump is also bad. Trump is also bad. He never says that.
I don't know who you're talking about concretely. No. I'm just like, let me just say how I see it. Just you've explained how you see it. So I've been covering
Trump never talks shit
covered
on
his rise. One of the big
Cenk never talks shit on
AJ
Trump.
Plus was like, why do people like Trump, right? And everyone was like, oh no, we have to talk about why people like Trump, and it's so obvious. The outsider tells it like it is, very direct, not afraid to upset, the normal establishment order of like, you gotta be a politician, you gotta be this. Of course, there's a million. He's kind of funny. There's a million reasons. Right, and there's a million reasons why people like him, and yet. Obviously, there is a massive danger. My brain just made the biggest fart noise on me, and I do not remember exactly what I was saying. But
that's okay. So you'll remember.
No. Yeah. You're right. You say something.
Yeah. So Franny, look, it's when I talk about people attacking us, I want to be clear about this because it's really. Yeah.
Okay, wait. You say it really quickly.
Yeah,
I remembered. My analysis has always been Donald Trump is a great brand master as an outsider. But he's a Trojan horse. That at the end of the day, even though Mitch McConnell, says his bullshit and whatever, of course he wants all the same things that Donald Trump wants. Trump is a brilliant Trojan horse for, yes, the establishment right. Look at all the neocons
and the billionaires.
I made a joke like, oh, all the cabinet positions are going to be, and yeah, you've got a random Kash Patel and whomever, but they're going to be the people commenting on his Truth Social. It's like, nah, he's picking Huckabee, he's picking Marco Rubio, he's got Elise Stefanik, he's all these people who we're going to be at war with Iran within a couple years. I have no doubts about that. So like, I truly, unless again his actual base is like no, including us, like I just feel like, is that not clear? I thought we were all clear that Trump was literally just a Trojan horse for establishment politics. It's as if Bernie Sanders said all the things and all the right things, but when got into office, Nancy Pelosi's behind the curtain pulling the levers. Like, wasn't that just understood that that's who he was?
So no, it's more complicated than that. I agree with everything you said about Trump and why he got to be popular. He ran as anti-establishment.
Right.
As a fake populist, right?
Right.
And so that's what worked really well. Wouldn't it be amazing if we had a real populist on the left and ran on populist left? So I hope to God we all agree to that in the 2028 primaries. So in terms of the part that I don't quite agree on the Trojan horse, you're right. That's all he's done so far. In the first term, he had 4 freaking years, and his number one and almost only accomplishment was corporate tax cuts. Massive, massive corporate tax cuts. And in fact, on the Young Turks, back then I said, watch, the establishment's going to leave him the minute those tax cuts pass. I even named a name. I said Gary Cohn, his national economic advisor. Okay, he's going to leave right after the corporate tax cuts pass, because that was a Trojan horse part. So you're right about that, right? But Trump is uncontrollable. So that's why that's why the Mitch McConnell and the establishment fights against Trump during the primaries. They didn't want him because they want people that can be controlled. Trump is uncontrollable both in terrible ways and maybe potentially ways that could be positive. And that is why the establishment is scared to death of him, is because they're like, well, what if he does things that are populist in the right direction? No, right? Now, he hasn't yet, right? So, and the policy that you just mentioned, Franny, that's the one where the rubber hits the road. And so I am so curious what's going to happen. So Israel has absolute power at this point. And they're drunk on power because they believe Trump is going to give them everything that they want. And in the beginning, he definitely will. That's why he nominated Team Miriam, as I explained earlier, Stefanik, Rubio, etc. Right? And so those guys will be our neocons. They will push for us to fund Israel's wars from here to eternity. If I am wrong, then there'll never be any pushback from the right-wing populists, the MAGA base, and they'll be like, oh, send all of our money to Israel, start more wars. Maybe we should fight the wars for Israel. And then I'll come on your show and go on the Young Turks and say, guys, I was wrong. No, it turns out the right-wing populists, they weren't anti-war. They were just cultists, right? Or I'll be right, and some portion of that base will go, no, we're sick of funding Israel's wars. Not that they care about Muslims. I mean, Tucker's a good example of it. He turned on the Iraq war a year into the war, and he explained on a radio show, he's like, because these Iraqi Arab Muslims are monkeys, and I don't care about them. So he doesn't do it with good intent or anything positive in his heart, but they genuinely want to get the hell out of wars, right?
Yes.
So if I'm right, when Trump pushes too far on Israel, they're going to push back. And so that's a great mystery.
I want to
see with our own eyes.
Yes. And I want to say, for the record, I'm not against, here's what I'm not against, bringing those people into the fold of a broad
that's fine. We can do that.
That includes everyone. So and does however, if those folks are also like, yeah, because there's already too many Muslims here, right, guys? That's something that I have a line around. But that's not to say, especially if it's some random uninformed voter who's just like racist by, just sort of not genetically, but like their dad was a racist, so they are a little bit, whatever. Like those people, those people can be worked on. I do think for me, this is what a broad coalition looks like, but there are lines, and that line for me is respecting human rights and civil rights of your fellow Americans, which I think you're trying to get to. But I do want to ask, we all hate Mika Brzezinski and Joe Scarborough, but like in practice, is what you're doing that different from, like, if you were to get invited to Mar-a-Lago, Cenk, wouldn't you go?
Oh, I would definitely go. And so, okay, so
to open lines of discussion.
Yeah, so good question. So let me address it. So Mika and Joe were very clear. They said we went down there because we're scared, and they wanted to court power. And
I think Cenk is also scared.
Get access again. To me, what is that about? That's about their ego. That's about their career. That's about their money, etc. For me, why would I go to Mar-a-Lago? Well, I'm not going to ask for any money. I never do. I don't. That's not what I do. And I don't care about their positions. I don't want to be in the Trump administration. I don't care about any of that. What do I care about? I care about policy. So I believe that if I'm in a room with Trump, I can convince him on at least one policy. Okay. And I know no one believes that, but just put me in a room with him. Okay. And I'm not going to walk out of and if he says no to the policy, right, then I'm gone. And I gave it my best shot and it didn't work. Okay. But at least I tried. At least I tried really hard to move that ship in the right direction. Remember, Trump likes to be popular. So that is a place where you could show him, hey, look at these populist positions, economically populist positions, which are overwhelmingly popular. Do that. So a good example is cut the Pentagon instead of cutting Medicare. Right.
And what do you think the probability? I wanted to ask you a question. What do you think under Doge? What is the probability that the Pentagon is cut versus what every single Republican ultimately wants, and that's why this guy is their Trojan horse, cutting Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid? Like, what's the probability they actually cut the Pentagon instead? I'm giving it a 4% chance on Polymarket.
We should do a bet on there.
Let's do a bet.
So no, I've got it at 20%. So not very high, but higher than what you got it at. 20% that they cut the Pentagon. So 80% that they won't. But now there's a fighter's chance that they do.
In
what is
comparison,
the chance that they
like
try to
they'd
cut
rather.
Medicare? Hold on. What is the chance that they try to cut Medicare or Social Security? 60%. So that's still much more likely, right?
Yes.
And I've started to see And by the way, here's another reason to communicate. I now am seeing right-wing hosts talking about cutting Social Security. So they're coming for Social Security. I see them talking about arresting two people. So they, the two that they're most obsessed with, Fauci and Liz Cheney.
Yeah.
So that's real, and we got to stop that. I hate Liz Cheney, but you don't arrest her because you don't like her. That's not a thing. And in fact, I had a huge battle with Vinny, who's a right-wing populist that I agree with some issues on, but a huge battle on that on Patrick Bet-David's show last time. I'm like, brother, you need a crime to arrest people. She hurt my feelings is not a crime, right? She disagreed with Trump is not a crime.
I mean,
right?
it is now. I mean, Kash Patel, if you are a journalist or a pundit going on MSNBC and you say something about Kash Patel, he's going to send you a defamation letter of defamation, whatever, a threat to sue him. And that's what's happening.
January
I actually,
2022,
and I do,
Polymarket.
here's lastly, do you have a second, a little bit more?
Yeah,
and everybody's like, oh,
and I want to say one.
I can't believe you're saying that about poor Jimmy Dore. I can't believe you're saying that about poor Dave Rubin. I can't believe you're saying that about poor Sam Cedar. I know. Poor Sam. Okay? So anyways, yeah. And so look, they claim to be more left-wing, and then they'll work. Hold on, let me.
One last thing too, but go ahead, Franny.
Okay, I just want to, because this, I think, was another moment on Patrick Bet-David's show that stung, and I appreciate that you got into it with Vinny. I'm not discrediting that. Again, I'm not saying all of these appearances have been 100% awful. I just feel there have been moments where you throw the left under the bus more than you push back on the right. And I you might disagree with the characterization. That's how I feel. This part stung for me.
Why do you think they're losing these names?
Yeah, so everything's a little bit different.
And he's talking about like the Tulsi Gabbards and RFK Jr. and why the Democrats have lost those names.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Person's different. So Tulsi, I think, was always secretly a right-winger, but Bobby Kennedy Jr. was not. He was definitely a Democrat, right? And so he's a decent example. So Bobby has opinions that a lot of people on the left don't agree with, right? To which I say something revolutionary to the left. So what? Okay, he agrees with us on the environment. He agrees with us on housing, on anti-corruption. He doesn't agree with us on vaccines, fluoride, etc., right?
Okay, I stopped it there because you talked about, giving him a fair shot in the primaries, which I actually agree with you about. However, I take issue with, so what? My daughter's 2. She's going to be going to preschool, then to kindergarten, then obviously in public school. So what for childhood vaccinations
right
is truly whether or not my community and my family are safe or not. Having RFK Jr. as the head of the HHS is wildly dangerous. And it's not a culture war issue, Cenk. I'm not saying he's not right on some things, but again, what's the probability that his HHS is going to do anything to rein in corporate power or regulate, the big R word,
Nothing.
regulate any of the ways that they poison us? No, they're not going to do that. What they will do is get rid of any vaccination requirements and just sow even more distrust in what has protected millions of people.
Yeah, so it's a fair question because you're misinterpreting what I mean by so what, but not on purpose. It's a miscommunication. So when I say so what, I don't mean, it's no big deal, or that we shouldn't fight him as the head of HHS. I'm against him being the head of HHS. I mean, so what is in, so what? Then let's fight him on those things, right? So I wish he was the head of HUD, and then I would support him. He is great. He wants to ban private equity from buying residential homes. Great, that's a great policy, right? But as the head of HHS, I massively disagree with him, and I think that getting rid of vaccines is a very problematic and not a culture war issue. It's very real. That affects people's actual lives. And when vaccines are blocked, there was a story out of Pakistan. They thought it was like an American trick. And then they blocked the polio vaccine and polio spread. And they were like, no, sorry, come back, right? So that's what I mean by so what. So what? Let's fight them on it. Like there's no see. That's partly what's wrong here, which is that we're thinking of them, us, and so if they're in the them, then we hate everything about them, right? And what I'm saying is, no, we don't have to hate everything about them. All we have to say is, so I don't agree with Bobby Kennedy on vaccines. So let's go, let's fight him and show that he's wrong, right?
Sure.
So there's nothing wrong with that.
That's all right. I'm willing to give you that. As we wrap, I do want to ask, do you think about how what you're doing reflects on TYT as a whole or on individual hosts at all? I personally feel implicated by a strategy that I do disagree with. Or do you think, well, I'm doing the right thing, so everything I do should reflect beautifully on everyone who works at TYT?
See, this is a way of getting me like saying, Cenk, you're out of bounds. You're implicating me in a strategy I don't agree with. Well, but what am I supposed to do? Not do the strategy I believe in because it might implicate people on the network?
I think I'm asking for empathy. I'm just asking for empathy, Cenk. It's just being a little empathetic.
No, I don't think that's about empathy. I think what you guys are asking for, and this is why I'm not on the far left, is you're saying, since we don't agree with your strategy and your strategy implicates us, if you were empathetic and a good person, you wouldn't do your strategy. And I don't agree. I think my strategy is way better and will protect all of us.
Your strategy is trash, brother.
Much better. And so I'm not going to purposely do the wrong strategy because it implicates people on the far left. If you say, hey, I'm so implicated, I'm going to leave. This is unconscionable to me, as some did, great. I got no problems with it. Everybody makes their own choices, but I'm not pushing anybody out. You get this, everybody gets to stay. Everybody gets to have their own opinion. They get to have it passionately. They get to fight me on it. They get to fight everyone on it. They get to make their case. I can't do any better than being super open-minded and allowing everybody to make their case. If you say, Cenk, you shouldn't make your case because some of us feel implicated by it, well, that's your problem, not my problem. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, about that, I'm reminded of the book by, I think his name is Michael Schneider, on tyranny. And he wrote, it's like 20 lessons from the 20th century about authoritarianism and fascism. And one of the things that has come to mind when you say, my strategy will protect us, is he has this chapter, I'm going to bring it up, the first part of it, called Do Not Obey in Advance. And he writes, most of the power of authoritarianism is freely given. In times like these, individuals think ahead about what a more repressive government will want and then offer themselves without being asked. A citizen who adapts in this way is teaching power what it can do. In other words, you don't have to do the sort of crackdown on the left around speech because I'm going to do it for you. Or you don't have to come to me.
But I'm not cracking down. Again, you're misstating it. I'm doing the exact opposite. You're cracking down by saying, Cenk, you're out of bounds, so you should stop.
But he said that the left is like calling people birthing person, and he said the left is out of whack. So he's criticizing the left for no reason to the right wing. He's telling them, yo, the left is bad, guys. I agree with you.
Your stupid opinion.
So
and because you're implicating me.
I feel like there's a real,
honest, that's what you're saying.
Cenk, I feel like there's a real misunderstanding of power in your mind. And I don't know why.
I think you're hiding behind this power dynamic.
No. I'm being totally honest. I am a contributor to TYT that I go on every time you guys ask. I step in a pinch often. Sometimes I don't.
You do.
I've been asked less and less as of late. Jordan has sort of eclipsed me. It's fine. I don't give a shit. But like I am but a mere contributor. I make very little money from this show. I'm really grateful to the people who support it. Again, you have founded the TYT. You've been the head of TYT. You're one of a stalwart in broader progressive left of center media discussions. What you do is far more impactful than what I do. I'm just being honest with you. Like, you have a huge footprint.
Keep feeding his ego.
It's a good thing I have the right strategy.
No, you have the wrong strategy, you fucking idiot. Let her finish.
And when you go on shows, and you go on stages, again, with Charlie Kirk, you it looks like an apology tour. You
No, you're wrong
implicate
about it.
you implicate not just everyone who's worked with you and everyone who is ostensibly on your side, but it basically makes it seem like it cheapens everything that we've done and we've built. That's why I can't sleep at night. That's why I feel sick when I see you on these shows. Like, I'm just being, I mean, I guess I'm nuts. I guess I'm totally crazy and I should just trust you and say, yes, we need you're doing the right thing. You're protecting us.
No, you don't have
but
to say
all
that.
I am doing is I'm filled with absolute despondency.
He's protecting us,
truly.
guys. He's protecting us.
And I can't believe that a guy who I used to admire and who I thought had a lot of fight is trying to scratch the back of people who absolutely would never do the same for them.
So we just spent an hour and a half me explaining how I'm not scratching their back. I'm trying to get
But I can show
their
you more
populace
clips,
to agree
man.
with us on things we believe in and we've always believed in. And you go back to scratching their back.
At least the
So
trains
listen,
will run
Franny.
on time.
No. So let's end on this because this is monumentally important. So I say everybody's allowed to have their opinion. You say when I have my opinion, I'm hurting other people. But do you hold on?
You're hurting a broader movement, yeah.
Hold on. Do you not get that privileges your position and says my position is obviously the correct one and the moral one, and since you have the incorrect immoral one, you are implicating me in your immorality and your wrongness. So you really shouldn't do that, because that's being immoral to me and other people who agree with me, because since you're so obviously wrong and immoral about this, you're implicating me in your immorality.
With great power comes great responsibility. That's what I'm saying.
He doesn't listen.
I'm saying
with great power
comes great responsibility. I'm giving you.
With great power comes great responsibility. But Uygur, he is on the destroy Francesca mode. He's angry. He's not gonna listen right now, guys. I'm sorry.
So accepting, but you've gone off the reservation and you've gone rogue, Cenk. So now it is your fault for implicating the beloved far left, who are clearly have the correct position, but you don't have the correct position. And you don't represent the left. So please stop pretending you represent the left when the voting and the polling clearly showed you don't. And it's not wrong to be center left. You think that it's like center left is like, no, it's, I don't know what you think it is, MAGA or whatever. But you want to talk about the power dynamic.
No, center left and center is not it's not anti-capitalist enough. You guys are not gonna do the changes America needs. You are a corporate hack. That's what a center leftist is.
Nancy Pelosi having a baby, Cenk.
Exactly.
I think ultimately you just need to embrace your centrism, my guy.
Yup.
I think you're just more of a centrist than
Yup.
I just explained it, but you don't want to hear it. I said it earlier, Franny. I'm not talking about the disgusting centrism of Manchin and...
I'm not talking about the disgusting centrism of Manchin. I'm talking about new centrism of Cenk. The Cenkarian centrism.
All of that the mainstream media lied to us and called centrism.
It's a new centrism. It's a new
What's wrong with
centrism.
Manchin works with both sides.
Hey, he works with both sides of the aisle. That is true.
He's a perfect example of what you're doing.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Manchin is the establishment. The fact that you can't see the difference between a left-wing populist who despises the establishment
who's a right-wing
Manchin
populist
who loves and is the establishment.
Who's a right-wing populist?
You can't see that difference is stunning.
Who's a right-wing
shows your
populist?
blindness.
Who is a right-wing populist? Name him. Who's a right-wing populist?
On Patrick Bet David show is definitely a right-wing populist. Dan Holloway on Drinking Bros is definitely a right-wing populist.
Vinny on PBD thinks that the Biden administration blew up the bridge in Baltimore.
He does. That's right. Because they're not saints, and they don't agree with us.
Who's a right-wing populist in office? Who's a right-wing? Is it Matt Gaetz? Who's your right-wing populist in office? Is it Marjorie Greene?
The new right-wing populist is absolutely clear. And see, guys, before I say the name, I know what's going to happen after I say the name. You're going to think of all the bad things he said about social issues, and you're going to think, oh my God, Cenk likes this guy. That's why I now hate Cenk. So I'm telling you, ahead of me telling you the name, no, I do not agree with him on the social and cultural issues, and I will fight him as hard as I possibly can on those. And I don't think that he's right on all the economic issues at all. But he has begun to be populist because he stopped taking corporate PAC money. Josh Hawley in the Senate. That is now a right-wing populist. Tom Massey, a right-wing populist. Okay, those
The
guys.
most racist, Islamophobic, anti-Israel people ever. In the world, like you can be anti-Israel, but like there's a good way and a bad way. You can't be Islamophobic, anti-Semitic and shit. And Josh Hawley, the other guy definitely is. Tom, whatever, Thomas Macy, whatever the fuck he said. That guy's definitely like anti-Semite.
Massey, you could say 1,000 terrible things about him, but he is honest. Everybody knows he's honest. He's honest to a fault, right? He says some things I'm like, whoa, that's freaking crazy, right? But are they actual right-wing populists? Yes, they are. And the number one way you could tell if someone's going to be a populist is if they stop taking corporate PAC money.
Okay,
or if
I
they
accept
never
that.
took.
I accept that. I just want to say, lastly, I worry about our relationship because I mean, I don't have to, like, we may grow distant. You know what I mean? I'm trying to delve more into my show. I still love going on John's show and Dr. Richie's show. That's in the TYT network. This show is on the podcast network of TYT. It's there's no money that really exchanges hands. You guys do help me with the podcast hosting, so I appreciate that. So I may owe y'all money. Do you know what I'm saying? But I'm just being honest. Like,
You don't know anybody.
but you know what I mean. I'm being honest about what our arrangement is. But I worry because we were but 5 minutes into this conversation, and you said Emma Vigeland likes the establishment, and it doesn't matter what she said. It doesn't. Hang on. It's not about what she said.
Did she say that, or did she say like, we like Kamala Harris over Trump because the Republican Party is fucking insane and shitty?
But it is concerning that there are so many former TYT employees, and let's put Doran Rubin aside, but people like Ben Dixon and Emma Vigeland, and even longtime contributors who were editors like Hank. I remember Hank, and like the fact that he helped start the TYT union and now has obviously
nothing.
Okay, but
Oh my god, this guy is so fucking hateful. Such a hateful ass businessman.
Hank was such a great guy, and Emma and Ben are such. I'm just saying. I'm telling you, these are.
Who's Hank?
But okay, how? I'm afraid, man. Like, I'm next. Like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. That I'm booted out of the castle, and suddenly it's us versus them, and they're. So what does it say about TYT? What does it say about you? That there's so many former employees who are on our side ostensibly, who you have so much disdain for.
So, Franny, if you're next and I have this secret nefarious plan to push people out, why am I on here? Why would I come on here and talk to you for now nearly 2 hours when if I'm planning to push you, that doesn't make any sense. So number two, some people have left the network, and don't exclude Dor and Rubin, because Dor and Rubin and some others they went right, but some others went left or far left or whatever. But some group of them have the same agenda. Come watch me, come subscribe to me, not the Young Turks. I'm the morally pure one. I'm the right one. I'm the one that's right, and they're all evil and terrible. And don't give them money. Give me money, right? So let's keep it real. So is that everybody? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Okay. So a good example is Mondale Robinson. I like Mondale, and he has the similar ideological problem as you do, and he decided one day, that's it, I'm quitting, right?
Yeah.
And so, but bless his heart, that's what God made doors for. Okay. So, and now he's attacking me and saying I'm in league with racists and stuff like that. Okay, that's his opinion, right? But when people cross a line like Rubin and Dor and Sam Cedar, etc., and others, and they say, "Oh, Jake's just has this
Sam
evil
Cedar didn't do nothing.
plan, and he's doing it for money, and he's a grifter, and he works with the CIA, or he works with this guy or that guy."
Bro, are you crazy? Who is saying all this stuff? Look at Francesca. She's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
You're lying, and you're lying in like extreme ways. So like this whole thing of like Sam, for example, analogized me to a Nazi, but he's done 1,000 things. That's just one of them. And then when I go, hey, hold on. When I say cut that crap out, and they're like, oh, we're the victims. Oh, I just said you were a grifter, and that you're lying to people and you're cheating people. And I said, you might be a Nazi and you're definitely a right winger, but I'm the innocent one. I can't believe Cenk counterattacked after I punched him in the face 20 times. I can't believe a poor little angel.
But he believes in saving Social Security and cutting the Pentagon. So can you give him credit for that and work with him?
Oh yeah, of course. So I mean, if Sam's gonna vote,
Can you have a beer with him? No.
The Social Security and not cut.
Only right wingers we can have beers with. Remember, guys.
Security. What? I'm not the guy who says I don't want his vote, right? I just don't have to go on his stupid show and agree with his stupid ideas.
So then, could Sam Steeder go on your stupid show, Cenk, and debate you? Please let him on your stupid show, please.
But you just stupid. Again, these are words that you reserve.
Okay,
Why do you?
Randy, if I called you a Nazi and I said you're a right winger and you're secretly taking money from Pelosi and Charlie Kirk, then hey,
who said all this?
And you got angry with me. Wouldn't that be a rational reaction?
I think there's been a conflation
would the rational reaction be, oh, I love Cenk. I love that he called me a Nazi. I can't wait to work with him. No, he's a freaking grifter. That's all he's ever done.
Cenk Uygur is a grifter. I don't think Sam Steeder would ever call him a Nazi. That's the stupidest thing ever.
He literally told me that he was trying to take Jimmy Dore's audience because Jimmy's was bigger.
Good.
So he wanted to.
That's fine. Jimmy Dore. You remember Jimmy Dore's a right winger, you fucking idiot. Why is this guy protecting right wingers all the time? Like, I hate Cenk.
The reason Jimmy Dore is out the door was in part what he did to me, and you and I talked about that at the time. It was when he had to finally face the fucking music and be hey, you cannot bully another not employee but a contributor.
Franny? I stood up for you, right?
You did.
It took some time.
It had to get bad, but you did.
Had to get bad.
He had also been. He had been going the way of the dodo for a long time. But I just want to say, so it doesn't say anything about TYT that there are these former employees who really, and I just want to back to the last thing I'm going to say is people really liked you. They really did. And they looked up to you and they thought of you as a comrade, a boss, a co-conspirator in this grand, political project to really change this country, to make it more democratic.
Look at his face. No.
And it really is. I have to say, there's a thin line between love and hate. And even these channels that are hell bent on being like, Cenk's this, Cenk's that, you know what? They were all massive Cenk fans.
Yes.
I think we all are a little bit. And so I just want to say, it is sad to us to see you, honestly, act very small when in fact you could be a lot bigger.
So, Franny, I think you're being unbelievably unfair. So you're taking 6 people, 4 of whom are clearly doing it for money, okay, and clearly doing it for attention.
And you're not. You're definitely not doing it for money. Cenk Uygur, the guy who sold to fucking cryptocurrency betting site, gambling site, what's it called? Fucking Polymarket, dog. Polymarket. And then you take money from Jeffrey Katzenberg, a fucking California billionaire, maybe? I don't know how rich he is.
I'm not taking anyone. I'm asking you a question.
You accuse me of incredibly unfair things. Can you allow me to respond? Franny, you know the people inside TYT, they work here 15 years, 17 years, 20 years, 17 years, and they love working at TYT. And what these assholes are doing is pretending that we're bad bosses and we're bad to our employees and we're bad to everyone that works at TYT and we do all these things and we push them out. Bullshit. Every one of those people left and they said, oh, I'm going to be bigger and better than you. And then they viciously attacked not just me, but everyone that works at TYT. Why do you think Edwin and Bart and all those guys have been there for so long? We gave people 12 weeks of paid family leave when no one else was doing it.
Wow, you want a cookie? You're supposed to be progressive. You don't got to fucking clout that out if it's a big success.
We did it for moms. We did it for dads. I can go on and on. Franny, to make it seem like I'm pushing people out and that I'm the bad guy here, when in fact you know for a fact that 98% of the people that work at TYT love TYT and try to stay there forever and ever and ever. Sometimes they'll go to a different company and go, whoa, holy shit, that's bad, and come back to TYT. So please be fair and honest with your audience, because working at TYT has been amazing for those people. And all we're getting is smeared by a couple of people who literally say we want to tear down the network. We got 75 people here that we have to provide for. And they're trying to take food off their table because me. I'm going to tear down the left-wing network. Why don't you spend your time?
Bro, you're tearing down your own
tearing
network.
down the right
You're a
wing,
shitty boss.
tearing down Trump, tearing down all these people, instead of sitting there and going, oh, someone on the left is bigger than me.
You're tearing down your own fucking network. You're tearing down your own business. You're the terrible boss with a terrible plan, and now that the plan's backfiring on you and you're losing all this audience, now you need to find a scapegoat. It ain't your fault. It has to be the left. It has to be Sam Cedar. It has to be all these little Max left. The Max left.
I'm gonna tear them down, and that's what they're doing.
I think we're gonna. I think it's a really sore subject, but I did just want to ask. I think yesterday on Mark Lamont Hill's show, you did say that that what your strategy has actually cost you and cost TYT some subscribers, and members, more importantly, who financially support the show. Speaking of putting food on 75 people's table, what is your reaction to that? I know anecdotally there are people who love and support my show, even though I truly don't talk about my disagreements with you. And God, Cenk, I've been over backwards. The reason my show is at 1 p.m. is because it's right before you, right in between when TYT doesn't have any show. I've bent over very backwards to accommodate TYT. But there are people who love my show who say, I had to stop supporting TYT for a lot of political disagreements. And what do you say to those people, or how does that make you feel?
I refuse to be wrong on purpose. So we lost a lot of members and paying subscribers when I started criticizing Obama from the left.
So you refuse to be wrong on purpose, but you're going to be wrong accidentally. Okay. That's better than at least
and I
being
said
wrong
he shouldn't
on
be
purpose.
drilling in the Gulf, and he shouldn't be bailing out the bankers without any consequences, etc. And people were outraged. But I didn't do it because I didn't know the term back then, but I know it now. It's called audience capture, and I'm not going to do it. So if you say at the time people were like, no, be pro-Obama.
I'm not going to be audience captured, guys. I'm just going to be Poly Market captured and Jeffrey Katzenberg captured. That's okay.
Pro-Obama. I'm like, no, I'm not going to lie to you on purpose. And now some folks are saying, no, tell us the far left is totally right, and then that like there is no crime, and on and on and on, right? No, I'm not going to be purposely wrong. And so I'm not going to do audience capture, and I'm not going to say that. And so how could I be a grifter and say at the same time, I'm willing to sacrifice a lot of money that I'm super worried about for all of us at TYT?
Because you're probably trying to get a lot more money later on with all them right-wing billionaire funders. You're trying to get into that right-wing money space, boy.
To do the right thing. That's the exact opposite of grifting. That's saying I'm standing on principle. I'm standing on what I think is the real viewers of TYT and representing them. And Franny, what you're not seeing is there's so many people on the left who are afraid to state their real opinions because they're going to get shellacked online. All the far left is going to come out and call them a right-winger and a fascist, etc. They're so scared to actually state their own opinions because the far left has so much more power than they realize in terms of the social media ecosystem.
Sure,
right?
I agree. And I do think that it would benefit all of us to be a little bit less online.
Yeah.
Because I do think there is a real left.
Get off of Twitter, Cenk. I feel like Cenk is so on Twitter. Like, Cenk is so on Twitter because I have not seen these birthing person comments, birthing person, or any of this other dumb bullshit, the third hole or whatever that Cenk is talking and Anna are talking about.
Are in labor unions. They work in homes. They they are serving people Starbucks, right? Like there are real leftists. They are, let's be real, they are on the streets demonstrating for Palestinian human rights. They've been on the streets, although I know this gets into prickly territory, but they've been on the streets saying things like defund the police, saying things like Black Lives Matter. And I know you might disagree with them, but there are real leftists who don't just live online. And so I hear you about, I absolutely concede our movements. We always talk about this. How can our movements be more attractive? Be, as Michael Albert, who wrote this book called Participatory Economics, he used to say, how do we make the left sticky, where people want to be there and stay there? And for sure, it's by not over policing one another, and it's by meeting people where they're at. And I think that is absolutely true. But for me,
but not by drinking a beer with Charlie Kirk.
It is not about, to me, it's not about, what I see is conceding to a right-wing framing within the ceiling of Trumpism, because there's always a ceiling, and that ceiling is Donald Trump.
But Franny, I'm not conceding, and facts have to
But
matter.
you are conceding because you haven't criticized Trump at all in front of these right-wingers. So basically you are conceding. Because you're not criticizing Trump. You're not telling them that Trump is bad and all this stuff. And if you say that, they'll kick you out.
Facts have to matter. Like, you're painting me as a collaborator when I haven't collaborated at all. Well, all I've done is argue for our positions. And in fact, you showed a couple of times when I argued for our positions, right? And if you showed all the right-wing shows that I was on, you would see me fighting for left-wing positions on right-wing shows that no one's ever done. And do you know that on the Patrick show,
I've been on Piers Morgan. I do that a lot.
So, if you count Piers Morgan, I totally agree with you. Patrick Bet-David's show, I made the second to last time I was on, I made a case for paid family leave. They polled their audience. 75% of that right-wing audience said, yes, we should pass paid family leave. Who else has done that? And for that, I get called a collaborator.
But how likely are the Republicans to pass family leave, you fucking idiot? 0%.
I implicate others in my collaboration. Can you not see how unfair that is?
No.
So what is the goal then? Do you hope that maybe some of those 75% are people who heard your argument around paid family leave are like, you know what? Let me check out TYT. Like, let me see what they're about. Like, I liked what he said on this one thing. Is that also the goal?
So the strategy is to coalesce populists on the thing. Now I'm saying it for the 200th time because it's not getting through.
So it's not about audience then. It's not about maybe getting some of their audience. Because I understand. I don't know what you're talking about in like what framework. You know, so, are you a movement leader? Are you going to start a political party?
Nope.
Or are you just the head of an online channel?
Yes,
I mean,
that's the head.
is
He's
what
the head
we
of a
know
channel.
To be true, right?
Yeah. So look, when Jimmy left and other people left, oh yeah, Young Turks are going down, blah 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 blah. No, it was total nonsense. Never had any issues. Here, this is a giant fight, and we do have issues. Okay, and so. That is standing on principle. No, it's not like I didn't know that we were going to get into this huge issue, right? And that the other left-wing hosts were going to take this as a great opportunity to try to whittle us down. And so we've gone through all that, and we've done that. So why am I doing it? Number one, because I believe absolutely that it is the right strategy and the right policy, and to the ultimate goals that you're asking about, Franny. Number one, we've got to win the primary 2028. So why am I saying things where I go, hey, I am center left and I do not agree with far left? Because I believe far left will be used, and you can disagree. There's nothing wrong with
far left is always used as a fucking cudgel to hit the Democrats. Oh, they're communists. Oh, they're socialists. Oh, they're pro-Soviet. Oh, look at Bernie Sanders, likes Cuba, and Soviet Union, had a honeymoon in the Soviet Union. It's always a left. They always use that same shit. It's not about that. Just have good policies and people won't care.
We're disagreeing. Kyle Kalinske disagreeing, no problem. You disagreeing, no problem. Jordan, everybody disagrees, no problem. It's only when they lie and they do bad faith is when I've got the issue. Okay, so you guys disagree, no problem, guys. Okay, but my goal is, number one, in order to win that primary, we've got to convince the normies that we're not going to release all the criminals. I know it sounds like hyperbole, and I know that really bothers people, but that's how they're thinking. That's why Oakland recalled their mayor 65-35, because now they started to think that the word progressive means release the criminals. No, it doesn't mean that. It means Medicare for all. It means paid family leave. It means higher wages. So that's why I have to distinguish, in order to win that primary, between the center left and the far left, and also because it's true. I am center left. And the great majority of those voters are center left. They do not agree with the far left on some of the extreme trans issues, crime issues, etc.
You don't think that
when we get to the general election, just to finish the thought, when we get to the general election, can we win over some of those former Bernie people that went to the right wing? Can we win over the independents and moderates that are not MAGA but voted for Trump because they says Trump was more anti-establishment than Kamala Harris was? Can we win those guys over so that our side wins? I believe we can, but and I'll use myself as an example again. So when they tried the Muslim ban, I have every right to call them Islamophobe from here to the end of the earth. I have every right to be concerned about me and my family, okay? But I don't believe it's the right strategy to call them Islamophobes and to push them away. I think the correct strategy is to go in the room, get some agreement on some things that we agree on, and then fight over the things we don't agree on, but treat each other as American citizens and human beings. And then at the end go, hey, by the way, I'm Muslim, okay? So do you think someone like me should be banned from the country? And when you do it that way, 9 out of 10 times they go, well, no, of course not.
Yeah, but they're lying because they're gonna fucking deport you like right after they say, of course not. I don't mean that. Yeah, deport it, motherfucker. Like they don't have to say they love you right in front of your face, dude.
But if I came in and said, you're an Islamophobe and you're a racist and a bigot, they'd say, ban this mother effer, right? And so I just think you guys have the wrong strategy.
So much for caring about freedom of speech.
Some wrong policies, but that's a normal part of a healthy debate. We could have had that debate without people making wild accusations.
Well,
instead of just saying we disagree, the collaborator, right wing, fascist, etc.
I really hope that you do, and I hope, let's leave it. I really do hope that you can get past what you feel are slights to actually speak to some of the people that you're talking about.
Debate Sam Cedar.
To be in more rooms with leftists who you may disagree with and more people who are ultimately on your side. I've had the same conversation with Van Jones back in 2016, man. It's like I'm deja vuing all over again, where I told him the left is more on your side than the right. And he's like, no, the left wants to tear me down. But anyway, Cenk, it's really great to have such a candid, open conversation. I like that we can both be very Mediterranean about it and get like super mad, but then rein it in and be cool and then be like, we're like, yeah, we're just going to yell and then we're going to be fine and then we're going to get over it. So that's the kind of beer I like to have.
Yes, thank you.
And but not with Charlie Kirk. And I will leave it at that. Everybody, you can check out all of the interviews. You don't have to, it does not hearsay. Watch for yourselves and see Cenk, and obviously every single day on TYT, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. Thank you so much, Cenk, for being here.
So, Franny, last thing I've clarified. I'm going on every kind of left-wing show. You're
not Sam Cedar, though, or you're not inviting him on either.
Mark Lamont Hill, Breaking Points, Brian Tyler Cohen, Dollcast.
Sam Cedar's a big guy. You got to invite him.
Just a whole Destiny, where I guess he's kind of on the left.
Oh boy, don't talk about Israel.
But I'm going, David Packman. I'm going on every show. The only shows there's only a couple of shows I don't go on because I think they're bad faith. And what they then do is saying, oh, he's not going on any left-wing shows. What, because they're the demigods of the left? No, I'm going on.
They are a big show on the left, yeah.
Shows that have good faith, where we have wild disagreement, and like you said, sometimes we even yell at each other, but when we settle down and we have a beer, so this idea that I'm not going on left-wing shows or we're not doing left-wing stuff is just not.
Well, we're making the second round. We're like the second tour. We're the B cities of your A cities tour.
No, that's not true. Randy, the whole network is left-wing, so I mean, the aberration was going to talk to the right wing.
Well, I mean, here's another. I would love to see you and the doc just debate the police. Like you and the doc talk about crime. Like that's would be
a great idea.
I would watch the shit out of that because
we don't disagree on the police. We disagree on. I don't even know that we disagree on crime. So be careful what you wish for.
No, exactly. You guys might agree. I'm just because all we do on that show, right, is look at like Karen videos and cop videos. So like everyday racism. And like institutionalized racism.
But I totally agree with what Rashad says on the cop videos. Please, everybody check out Indisputable. That's Dr. Rashad Ritchie's show that Franny is referring to. Check out Damage Report. That's John's show. John is closer in his policy views to Franny than he is to me, I think, these days, etc. So please give all those shows an opportunity. Check out everybody on Rebel Headquarters. That's where there's tons of interesting agreement, disagreement, etc. But there aren't any right-wingers at TYT. It's the whole range of the left. Sure. And I'm going to always allow that range. Everyone from like moderate left.
Yeah, there's just two right-wingers, the main owners of the show.
Like I don't mean center left. I mean moderate as in like actually like closer to the middle, goes to the Republicans, etc., all the way to far left and everything in between. So that's what TYT stands for. And everybody in that spectrum gets to have their opinion, but that also includes me and Anna. We're also allowed to have our opinions, our own policies, and our own strategy. That's all I'm saying.
All right, Jake, thanks so much for being here. Go live your damn life. See you later. And thank you all for being here. It was beautiful. It was heated. I hope everyone enjoyed it. And, you know, there's a lot to discuss. And these are conversations that I think we're just going to continue to.
Thank you so much, Francesca. We love your channel. Sub. Everybody subscribe to Francesca. As my last, what is it called? As my last calling card for the video, the stream, I want you guys to subscribe to this channel and any other leftist channel you see me react to, and have a great night. Love you guys so much.
With a powerful ally, our ruling fist is clenched. We'll trample over the weak. Our king